Thanks. Hello, everybody. I'm Carlos A.S. Lysing. I am the lead designer and owner of Casl Entertainment, small press OSR publishing company. Tonight we're going to be playtesting one of our newest modules. It's a World of Greyhawk adventure called From Dark Roses, Black Thorns Grow.
Drag and drop that on you.
And we have somebody in the background that has volume on. But anyway,
hang on.
It's all right. We have the ghosts speaking from beyond. And at any rate, I'd like to introduce my players to you tonight. Over here, just on my right, in the left-hand top corner of our screen, is Linda Booth. Linda will be playing the Huntress. Hold on just for a second. We're getting some feedback from somebody.
Yeah, I closed Twitch because that was partly me. But
okay. If you guys want to turn the volume down on Twitch, that'll probably be the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a second.
Yep, sure.
I keep trying to close Twitch and it keeps reopening.
It says nope.
It's the program that won't die, right?
It's Skynet.
It's Skynet. There it goes.
There we go.
Over there at our top right-hand corner, that's my friend Steve Frinsma. Steve is going to be playing Masquerade.
All right, there we go.
Below him, we have Greg. Greg Johnson is going to be playing Simon Galavar. And just over to the left of that, we have Magnus Miller Wilson.
Who is still echoing here?
That would be Steven, I believe.
I'm trying to mute it. Yes, I'm trying to mute that window.
Okay.
I can't get into Twitch, Carlos, so I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and get rid of it, and I will see what I can do aside of that. It sounds like one of those robots on a cartoon. Magnus over there, right next to Greg, is Magnus Miller Wilson, who's going to be playing Glade. Glade is going to be our caller for the evening, and she's the leader of the party. So you'll be probably hearing a lot of Magnus this evening. Everybody, how's everybody doing now that our Twitch issues are settled? Good, awesome. This is a playtest for everybody out there that's watching us on Twitch this evening. So don't be surprised if you see a little bit of strangeness over here. We're working the module out right now. It has never been played before. So this whole thing is about finding holes. It's about finding how the characters perform inside the setting, whether I need to make adjustments to them or not. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. And we're going to begin right now with no more ado here. Heroes out there that are my players for the evening. The four of you have been assembled in the city of Hardby together. Each of you, as you have read on your character sheets, have different reasons for assembling here. It's a dark day, probably in mid-fall. The leaves are changing colors. There's the hint of rain in the air. Taste of the storm is heavy. With Hardby being right on the coast of the Woolly Bay, which is wild and full of whitecaps, the scent of sea spray hangs heavy in the air. Even more so because the tower that you're approaching is right on the coast. Now, all of you have come to realize that this particular tower belongs to a woman. Actually, it belongs to a man named Leander Delgath. Leander Delgath used to be known many, many years ago as Dread Delgath. He was one of the heroes notorious for bringing low the slave lords down in the Pomarge, the terrors of the wild coast in the Pomarge. However, Delgath, once he was done with the different slave lords themselves, he couldn't rest easily knowing that their lieutenants continue to wreak havoc all over the wild coast. So what he did was he put together a group of heroes to go after some of their most dangerous commanders. Using his resources that he had gained from his many treasures, he became a very wealthy man from his activities against the slave lords. Well, the first group he put together was meant to go against possibly the most heinous and the most black-hearted of the slave lords. There was a woman named Marquesa. Marquesa is also known as the Marquesa the Enchantress, the terror of the Wild Coast. She used to use magic and alchemy to twist the minds and the bodies of good people enslaved by the slave lords, making of them these hideous monsters of a like had never been seen before. She was the most fearsome and possibly the most evil of all the slave lords. Well, she put together a very powerful team of heroes to go after Marquesa, but they failed. And Marquesa decided that she would play games of cat and mouse with the heroes afterwards. She was almost thrilled by the fact that people were coming after her. But she also wanted to teach everyone a lesson. And so by the time the heroes got back to this tower, Leander Delgath had been kidnapped himself, thrown in chains, and is somewhere across the Wild Coast as we speak. One of his apprentices is a woman named Sky the Lioness, who has taken up the mantle in the absence of Leander Delgath. It is she that has summoned you to the tower today. And as her retinue, her house retinue, invites you into the tower and takes you into a small private chamber within it. The chamber is well lit. It's well appointed with a nice, very dark wooden table. Around it, many chairs, enough for all of you. Sky stands at the front of it. There's wine available, water, fruit in the middle of the table. Very opulent carpet there. Whole room lit by torches. Sky looks across at the bunch of you. She's about maybe 5'7". She's got a baby bear that she carries around with her in her arms. It kind of is struggling all the time. It looks like it wants to get at the food all the time. Sky has very thick, almost like almost cable-y kind of blonde hair, pulled back by a band. She looks at the bunch of you. She says, "Forgive my familiars." Pets him on the back of the head. His rambunctiousness. She looks around the table and smiles at Simon and Glade. She says, "I'm sure you're quite familiar with how familiars can sometimes be a bit of a challenge." Glade, you're saying this as Myrmidon is walking across the table and he's eating grapes out of the with his two hands out of one of the bowls in there. The bunch of you have maybe never seen a creature like Myrmidon before, Huntress, Maskra, and Simon, because they are not native to this area. But a brief bit of conversation before this whole thing tells you that Glade refers to this animal as a pangolin. For whatever that is. It looks like it's wearing scale, like a small creature that's wearing scale mail. And it seems very well behaved and quiet. Simon, Princess Calliope has taken up a seat on your shoulder. And she looks kind of bored with this whole thing, more or less. And she whispers into your ear during during the Sky's discussion, "Rambunctious." She just kind of seems a little bit put out by the whole thing. Sky, meanwhile, tells a bunch of you. She says, "I'm glad that you all could make it today. Obviously, I wouldn't have called you all from as far away as distant lands as I had to if it were not important. All of you have heard, no doubt, of the slave lords of the Wild Coast." Kind of pauses for a moment. "Each one of you has been called from your occupations because you have some sort of a background with them. You have some sort of a footing with what they do, and you understand why their activities must be put to a stop." Her bear's kind of climbing over her shoulder a little bit. She moves it back around. She sighs a bit. "The word by now, it's probably the Wild Coast's worst kept secret, is that Marquesa the Enchantress has been laid low. I take no small joy in telling you that I had some hand in this. You see, the heroes that laid her low were assembled by myself, supplied by myself, put to the task by myself. You see, my old master, and now me in his absence, have committed most of our lives to learning where the locations of the different commanders of the slave lords are. We know what they do. We know that we follow them carefully, just as a master follows their apprentice, she says, looking at the bunch of you. I want to assemble you as a team to bring about the undoing of 2 more of the slave lords' chief lieutenants when they were active. She chuckles a little bit. You see, the team that laid Marquesa low is away on another mission. They deal right now with one of the most powerful and one of the most dangerous slave lords. As a result, the time is perfect for you to slip into the Pomage undetected and deal with perhaps another one that is just as wicked and poses just as much of a problem as the others of their ilk. She looks over at you and kind of pauses for a moment, rolls out a piece of paper on the table. This is the Pomage, and as you can see, for everyone that's following on Twitch right now, she says, hold on for just a moment. It's
pretty mad.
There you go. Yeah, I brought the wrong thing forward. That's all. Okay, she says, this is the Pomage, surrounded on all sides by the Woolly Bay. She says, to the south by the Azure Sea, which feeds it. You can see the area I have marked is just to the south of the Sus Forest. She looks over at the Huntress, of which I'm sure you're most familiar.
She gives you just a solid nod.
Kind of just smiles as just in recognition, almost like saying, now you know why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
She says, your group will travel if you should take up my solemn charge. All of you will move down the Woolly Bay by ship. There is a large vessel that I have at my disposal by which you will be moved to the Wild Coast. You will slip in through the port of Highport, which is currently occupied by orcs. She pauses. But several, and then she looks across the table at one character that you haven't met here. This is a half-orc that's sitting at the end of the table, all business, has a spear in his hand. It looks like his skin has been so horribly burned that he's blackened in places. She says, I have a contact, she nods in his direction, by which we can ensure that you are smuggled into the city without fanfare and can walk through the countryside unmolested. You will then travel to the place indicated on my map. And at this point, she says, oh, thank you very much, Sid. We appreciate it. That's actually, one of our viewers right now is Anna Meyer, who actually is the one who created that map. Good to see you, Anna. She says, the location that is placed on your map is of utmost import. Some explanation is due here. The 2 individuals that you will be seeking to bring to justice, and when I say that, justice is defined very loosely by your own predilections. If you can bring them back alive to face a court, a tribunal, all the better. I don't think that will be possible, however. These 2 individuals are known as Icar and Blackthorn. Previously, the slave lords, and in particular Marquesa, was the commander of an installation at the edge of the Sus Forest. It was known as the Slavers' Stockade. The Slavers' Stockade was infiltrated by the first heroes to smash the slave lords, of which my former master was a member. Part of it was burned, part of it was ruined. They set it alight and infiltrated it while invisible. This is how they were able to walk in through basically gaps in the walls. Everyone was so busy trying to get out that they weren't worried about who was trying to get in, you see. However, her lieutenants were Icar and Blackthorn. Now, Blackthorn, in particular, is probably leading this organization. Blackthorn is of incredible danger and incredible power. You see, he's an ogre mage.
Mm-hmm.
He's known to have come from far to the west, lands that we do not even have names for. Icar was the warrior in charge of training soldiery that would be a part of the slave lords' many men-at-arms. Icar is blind. However, he sees without sight. I do not know if this is something inherent to him or something magical. We have no intelligence on this. However, what is known is they have moved back into the stockade. It still lays in ruin. This is purposeful. They have decided not to renovate or rebuild the top part of the stockade so that people in the area might think it's still haunted and ruined and will pay it no heed. I would not say that it is unguarded, however. Our scouts haven't come so close to it to know, but I would expect his guards to be watchful and plentiful there, whatever form they may take. Now, beneath the stockade, she says, is a large dungeon complex. This is where I believe them to currently be. Now, it is known that they still have many prisoners, people that are awaiting to be taken away in chains by the different slave lord groups. My plan is to send you in between caravans when the slavers come to resupply the place and to take away slaves. In this, they should be at their weakest, she says. I would expect their food supply to be minimal. I would expect them to be... their guard will be down to some degree. I do not know how they are, what sort of alarms they may have, but I would imagine that they would have some. I do not know what sort of foul creatures that you're likely to meet in there, though I would imagine them to be plentiful. As I said, Marquesa was a mistress at creating monsters, all of which were made in this very stockade. Perhaps they have some of those around that they have since tamed, perhaps not. I do not know. But, she pauses, you do now know what is known.
Death to the flesh traders.
She nods. She looks over at Glade. She says, I have named of all of you Miss Lotus Bloom to be the leader of your contingents. You see, Glade knows the area very well. Glade is a priestess of the nature, but you have many other skills as well that I think makes you very well suited to travel in such an environment. She looks at the five of you with the orc sitting there. He looks a little bit maybe unsettled. If I have to, I would spend no small amount of time telling you why it is that the slave lords, whoever they may be, wherever they might be found, must be put to rest. Why they must be expunged, but I don't think that to be necessary. She looks across at all of you. All of you hail from this area. You've heard the stories. Many of you were raised, I'm sure, with them. Stories of them being told you by your mothers or fathers as boogeymen of the area. These are innocent men, women, and children that they spirit away from their homes, take places who even knows where. Some, I believe, even end up in the Scarlet Brotherhood. Woe betide those few, she says. but I don't think I need to impress these things upon you. Do you all accept my solemn charge to travel to the Slaver Stockade and bring Icar and Blackthorn to justice?
It would be our pleasure.
She looks over at you, Glade.
Glade turns and slowly looks at the orc.
The orc just kind of looks back at you. He looks over at the pangolin on the table. The pangolin was in the middle of eating a grape. He kind of just stops and looks back at him. He looks back at you and just nods.
And then I say, "And you trust this one?"
She looks over at him. "Tell your story, my friend." He looks over at you, Glade. Kind of grinds his hands a little bit on the shaft of his spear. And says, "I was born to a human mother in Highport. I didn't belong to any tribe. My human tribe, such as it was dead. I tried to fit in with the Orcish tribes. They did not like my skin, you see. I was too much like a human for them." He looks over at Mascara's pouch and then look back at you, Glade. "They covered me in pitch and set me alight. They burned me for days until I was the color that they wanted me to be. This is why I look like this. I have no love for the orcs. And I have no love for the slaves either. I was a child when they took me, you know. They took me away from Highport when I was just a child, and I have watched for many, many years the way that the tribes that were my brothers and my sisters, the way that they would sell these children to slavers. If ever there was an abomination, it is this. Those that would exploit children I have no mercy for.
But you know them well enough? But you know them well enough to sneak us through?
I do not know these ones. And in any case, they would take one look at me. I am well known to them."
Ah.
He looks at you and says, "So you do not necessarily have to trust me, but you can trust my anger. I hope that is good enough for you, Glade." Does anyone else have any questions of my loyalty? Do not fear to ask. I've been asked them many, many times.
I have no doubt, and I resonate with the anger that seethes in your heart. And I mourn with you. The purifying fire was misused against you. The fire that I wield is a fire of righteous indignation, of purity, of burning out the impurities.
That we will set them afire together.
Oh, yes.
He nods. Sky kind of sits back with her bear, and she looks over at Simon and the Huntress. "Simon, Calliope is in your ear again." She says, "What are we getting out of this again, exactly?"
I just whisper to her so no one else can hear. We're getting my family and my master back.
She nods. She kind of just pats your earlobe a little bit, kind of gently. She goes, "That's good enough for me." She looks over at you. "You haven't spoken, Huntress. What say you?"
They shall receive no mercy from me.
Awesome. Okay, so your whole group, Sky informs you of the following. That which you find while you are at the Slaver Stockade is yours to keep. She has no desire for treasures. She feels that bringing everyone to justice is her reward in and of itself. So you may keep what you have, what you find, and you may use it, or you can save it for another mission. If you're successful, Sky expects that to contact you again soon to bring about the demise of yet more slave lords. So, within a day after you rest, and before the day is over with, all of you, these are pre-generated characters. This is where I would normally ask you what spells you pray for and things like that. However, since you're playing pre-generated characters, you're all familiar with your spell list at this point. The next day, your whole group is taken to the dock area by Sky's retinue and introduced to the captain of a ship. It's a very large, a beautiful, almost like a dark wood ship. It's a sloop called the Nereid's Shawl. And standing there over at it is next to it is a woman. She's got a kind of swarthy skin, kind of a hat kind of at a jaunty angle, long white plume feather coming from it. You see that she's got a parasol in her hand, kind of spinning it. Looks over at the the five of you. She says, "You must be the ones. Charissa de Tarndras," she says. "It's my pleasure to meet you. Mascara, I need you to roll me a 20.
16.
Mascara, Charissa de Tarndras is a known pirate. She has a price on her head in at least 7 nations around here, around the Wild Coast, for various deeds. The deeds, however, you're familiar with that she has done, like for example, the Scarlet Brotherhood has a 25,000 gold orb price on her head for, I guess her group made a hit and run mission on one of the small coastal cities of the Brotherhood. She tried to break some of the hold that they have on Onwall and Scant. It seems to you that even though she has a price on her head, the stuff that she does, she's more of like a Robin Hood type character, in that she doesn't really care much for the law, but she does care about what's right. She looks over at Glade and she goes, "You look familiar to me." Nah, just must have that kind of face.
Glade just smiles at her, pulls one of the twigs out of her hair, kind of tosses it aside.
Huh. Looks at the bunch of your group and says, "All right, we don't have much time," she says. "There's going to be a storm that's going to be coming in about 2 or 3 hours, and I want to make sure we're ahead of it. Anyone that needs anything from shore, speak now or forever hold your peace. Everyone get ready to go. You get the gangplank up. You go ahead, get the sails ready." She points at people with her parasol.
As soon as she stopped talking, Glade was like up the ramp and clucking her tongue at Myrmidon to follow.
Myrmidon just kind of follows a little bit. You know how pangolins run, kind of little awkward, tiny steps. Runs up the gangplank and follows you. Glade, you feel Myrmidon run up the back of your cloak with its claws and kind of claw its way and makes a little home in the hood part. Kind of curls up into a ball. Simon, Calliope looks at you and says, "Do you think that there's going to be any trouble on the way?"
Carlos, first, as you know, I hail from Safetown.
Yes.
Which is a major port on the Wild Coast, I believe.
That's correct.
Am I familiar with this ship? Does it look like a blockade runner?
Yes, it does to you. Very much so.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm familiar with this captain, but it sounds like she's probably...
Make me a 20.
I rolled an 11.
You have heard of Captain de Tarndras before. Captain de Tarndras is almost a legend in Safeton, actually. When Safeton was occupied, maybe 10 years ago, it was her that was funding the black market of Safeton, the underground there, running arms to them, running food to them. She's kind of a hero there, although the law hates her.
So she's a smuggler, basically.
She's a smuggler. She's a pirate. She's done all kinds of different stuff. The stories about her are there's a lot of them that are so legendary that they can't possibly be true. Some of the stuff that she supposedly has done.
Carlos, Mascara has an aura of ESP,
Yes.
and she wants to just survey the surface thoughts of the crew as they're preparing to go.
Brilliant.
You're walking past people. You walk past the captain. The captain's mind is... Her mind is like Quicksilver. Everything goes super fast through it, and she's really on task. She's thinking about all the different things that she has to do. But everything is very organized. It's just she thinks really, really quickly. The first thing that she thought of is I wonder if am I going to put these guys in the hold, or are they going to stand on the surface of the ship? She's thinking that she's going to let you guys go wherever she wants. You walk a little bit further up. There's somebody over there thinking to themselves, good, none of them have mud on their boots. There's somebody that's thinking over there, I got to get the sail up fast. There's somebody else over there. Mostly everybody's just on task.
Steve, you're looking for traitors, aren't you?
I'm wondering if anyone is sizing us up for. I think we can take them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There is a couple people that are sizing you up, but it's more when you feel it. It's like, I wonder if they're going to be able to handle this. It's more like a Sky's got new heroes. These ones look just as tough as the last ones. That's kind of thoughts that you're getting.
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Huntress, anything you're going to do as you're getting on boat?
Just going to take a slow spin and make sure that I don't see anything threatening.
Simon?
And then
go
I'll
ahead.
just slowly walk up the gangplank.
Simon,
Yes.
Calliope says, I'll keep in touch. She turns invisible and begins to fly up towards the crow's nest. You can feel her thoughts coming to you from up there.
I was going to respond to her question. Maybe I can do so telepathically.
Okay, go ahead.
More than likely, we will experience trouble. One of two things are going to happen here. Either we're going to get to our destination safely, or we're going to be sold out by the captain of this ship, possibly to the slavers. I doubt that is going to happen, but that is a possibility we must be aware of.
I'll be up here, ready for action, and I'll let you know if I see anything like other ships. Okay?
Please do. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, Simon,
Yes.
you're looking really cute in that blue. That's a good look for you.
I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
You should have worn the hat, though. Remember the hat I bought you for Safe Day? That would have been a really good look with that outfit.
We're trying to keep a low profile, so that's...
I know it's big, but I got it from another land. It's called a sombrero, I guess. It has all these... You remember all the tassels it had on it? It was so pretty. How was I going to not buy that?
How could I forget? Princess, it would not be wise for me to look better than a captain.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, I'll stay up here and I'll watch. So the boat ends up leaving if you have no more anything else you'd like to do, I'm sure.
Just a quick question. What's the estimated voyage duration?
The voyage duration is probably 6 hours.
Oh.
So, you get in the boat. The boat trip is relatively pain-free, actually. The storm that she said was going to be that was coming is definitely coming. It chases you pretty much the entire course of your path. You stay pretty close to the shore the entire time. And as you're going, Maskara, you're not too far. Your whole group is not too far from the captain. Maskara, you end up reading surface thought from the captain. She's thinking to herself, "Well, this will be a little bit easier, at least, than getting us to Moreau Point. At least we don't have all those all that coral to deal with." She's thinking of remembering the last slaver's mission. But again, her mind is very Quicksilver slipstream, and as the boat is going, you finally, about maybe 6 to 7 hours later, you find yourselves outside of a walled city. Now, this walled city is absolutely dilapidated. I mean, there's holes all over the walls. It looks like whatever battle claimed it happened yesterday. I mean, the only time that you can actually really see the fact that anybody has done anything to it, there's some patching on some of the walls. There's as you get closer on some important looking buildings, things like that. But the patching that's been done is very inexpert. It looks like a lot of the city was burned. Sharissa looks over at you. She says, I'm going to dock at the main... I'm going to go actually into the city and at the main wharf. She looks over at the one-eyed crow, the blackened orc, half-orc, and he looks at her, back at her. After that, it's your show. He says, I know what to do. Don't worry. He looks over at... she looks over at the rest of you. This is probably it for me and you, she says. I'm going to be docked here for the rest of your journey. Right here, she says, in Highport. Looks around at the rest of your group. But in 3 days, I'm gone. She says, because if I'm still here 3 days from now, something has gone very awry with your mission. At that point, you're going to have to find your own way back. She kind of looks up over at the Huntress and Glade, down at Glade. She says, but my understanding is that you two are pretty familiar with the woods in this area, and if you needed to get into the Sus, you'd be all right?
I just nod at her.
Yep.
All right. Well, that'll be what I would suggest. If you need to get a hold of me, find some kind of a messenger and get it back up to Hardby, and we'll go from there. But after 3 days, I'm out of here.
Capitan, what is the capacity of your vessel?
110.
There may be a lot of people we are rescuing.
She nods and kind of takes a deep breath. That's going to be tough. But you know what? Shrugs her shoulders. She goes, I kind of like tough. Puts her parasol over her shoulder and kind of spins it around a little bit. Simon, and you've seen the kind of parasol that she has before, being that you're not an uneducated man. It actually hides a sword. You're pretty sure.
A cane sword.
Yeah, it's a parasol sword, though.
Cool.
So she just kind of spins it around, and soon enough, your group docks at the wharf. The wharf is terrible looking. Coming up the docks area to meet your ship, you see all kinds of orcs walking up there. Some of you, your skin just stands on end. The one-eyed crow looks back at you, says, I'll handle this. Come after me when I call for you. Comes over. He starts going up, and he starts talking to these orcs in Orcish. Do any of you speak Orcish?
I believe I do.
Yep.
Yes, I do.
I think all of you do.
Yes.
Yep.
You hear him speaking to the orcs over there, and he's kind of at a distance, so it's really hard to hear. And with the waves and the incoming storm, it's kind of hard to hear exactly what he says. But it seems to you that he is introducing you all as potentiates of the Slave Lord organization. That all of you are here for a meeting because each one of you is a powerful warrior or magic user or whatever, and it's part of a recruiting thing. And a couple people give him some problems. He hands them some paperwork. They still give him some problems, and then he says basically, listen, he goes, if you want to talk to Blackthorn and Icar about this personally, be my guest. He says, but I don't think you want to make the mistake of turning these guys away if they turn out to be who I say they are. So why don't you just let us pass? I'll pretend I didn't ever see you. They all pretty much, after he says that, they all are given a little bit of pause, and they all leave the dock area. He looks back at you, your groupie, kind of pulls his head over. Hey, Tim, it's great to see you, man.
Did it appear that any of this Orcish contingent have any communications with any of the crew on the pirate ship?
No, actually, but they after you guys are done, after he's done talking to them, a couple of them do walk up one of the other gangplanks onto there, and they start taking off goods off of the ship, boxes. And Tim, actually, joking aside, Highport is on elevated land. That's the only reason they call it that. Anyway, so And it's good to see you watching us tonight, man. Thank you so much. Your group gets down off the gangplank and goes over to the one-eyed crow. He looks over at you. He says, "I know you heard me." He says in common this time. He says, "All of you use your regular names because you're not known to these people." Says,
Yeah, I take a look around at the rest of the group and then gesture to go.
"I don't think anyone will speak to you, though. They're all a bunch of cowards." Turns around and starts walking down the plank with his spear. He looks over at Glade. He says, "Glade, I understand that you're in charge of this. How do you want to proceed once we're out of the city?"
Very carefully.
"Thank you for being so specific." He says and walks away.
Can I make
She gives him a big white, pearly white smile.
He does the same and shows his tusks.
Uh-huh.
Blake, can I make a suggestion?
Anytime.
These two individuals, Icar and Blackthorn, they're going with the classic hide in plain view type strategy. They're in the same place as the original Slave Lord Stockade. Did I hear that correctly, Carlos?
That is correct.
Okay, which was burned. So nobody would think to look for them in the place which has already been supposedly cleared out. So most of their defenses are going to be below ground. I doubt we'll find anything on the surface. So my suggestion would be try to find, they're obviously getting supplies in there, foodstuffs and other types of materials. We need to try to find whatever, maybe track a group of people bringing provisions into there, or kind of maybe scout it out and keep an eye on it for a period of time until we see people coming in or out and what entrances they're using. I think that's better than just wandering into it.
Sky did tell us that it's in between caravan deliveries, and this is when they're the weakest.
Right.
So we might want to strike at this opportune time.
I do not think that we have time to do this deed, though it does have wisdom. I think perhaps what we should do is sneak our way in. They are going to use the cover of these creatures that were created by Marquesa, as well as any other natural or unnatural ghosts and residue from the battle before, is cover for what they do underground. So as long as we tread carefully, we will try not to disturb what is above so that we can sneak below. But we will probably need to leave ourselves a bolt hole for escape.
Simon, you feel a little bit of weight rest on your shoulder. You can telepathically feel that Calliope has rejoined you. The one-eyed crow looks at you. He says, "Listen, I know this area well. If you don't have any problem, I'll act as your guide, Glade, the group's guide to get over land. But when do you want to arrive there? Do you want to arrive there during night, which I think is good, or during day?"
Definitely night.
Okay, not good. Keep in mind.
Are there any disagreements?
No, other than I can't see in the dark. So I'll need to stay close to one of you who can.
Glade, you feel something nibbling at one of the branches in your hair. It's Myrmidon is kind of cracked up and he's nibbling at something. One of the things.
Carlos,
yes.
Does my familiar give me the ability to see in the dark or no?
No.
Okay, so
however, she can see in the dark.
What's the phase of the moon, Carlos?
Phase of the moon is this. Luna is in new moon stage. However, Selene, because Orth has 2 moons, is in a half moon stage.
Which one's bigger?
Luna.
Okay, so it's basically pretty darn dark at night, is what you're saying. There's only maybe a little bit of light from the half moon and the small one?
Relatively speaking.
Okay. So the orc said that he knows the lay of the land, right?
Yeah, pretty well.
Okay. We'll definitely want to take some time to scout the area.
He says, we better get going. He says, if we're going to be back here in 3 days, we need to move fast. So he leads you through the city. And the bunch of you, it is very, very difficult for all of you to make it through the city. Not because anyone is molested. Everyone gives you a wide berth. But the things that you see in the city. There's dead bodies in the streets. You see a human merchant that was obviously tortured to death there. There's a group of slaves being pressed on by these red-cloaked trio, whipped on their way. One of them can't be any more than 12-year-old boy. They look like they haven't eaten very well. The whole place is in squalor. It's a nest of disease. There's rats everywhere. It's a pretty bad scene. All of you are aware that Highport has been overtaken for quite a few years by the orcs. But because of that, none of you have ever been here. None of you knew what to expect. Now that you're seeing it for yourself, the horror of exactly what is here is really dawning on all of you. And if ever there was a need to have something impressed upon you, why these people need to be brought low, it's not there anymore. There's no doubt anymore. This place is an absolute abomination.
Baskra is seething.
Yeah. The
But
one-eyed
she's not
crow.
showing on her face.
Yeah, the one-eyed crow kind of guesses that might be the case. He comes over to you, and he kind of claps you on the shoulder a bit and says, "Soon." He says, "Soon." So he ends up leading you through the city of Highport and overland. You leave the city of Highport relatively unmolested again. It's about noon, maybe about 1 in the afternoon when you leave Highport. Your group begins overland. As you go overland, at one point in time, you don't really see much of anything. At one point in time, you do see a patrol of goblins. They're kind of a little bit to the south of you, maybe just on the edge of the horizon, but they're easily circumvented. They see your group and really don't say much of anything. He looks over at you, the one-eyed crow looks over at you, Glade, and says, he says, if you act like you've been there before, they think you have.
I've got my hood up, so it's hard to tell that I'm a halfling, and I just nod.
It's not hard to tell because of your height that you're a halfling now.
Well, sure, but aren't there like kobolds and goblins that might be in the region too?
I was just kidding about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Myrmidon is with you.
Are you calling me a stunty?
Myrmidon is with you and just kind of it rides along, kind of tucked in the front of your in the front of the robes. As your whole group goes forward, Simon Calliope stays invisible the entire time.
Carlos, I walk through there looking slightly annoyed so as not to attract attention.
Yes. Here Calliope tells you, she says, she goes, you could have been an actor. You're really good at this. No, I mean it. Imagine this, okay? Like a magic show. You and I go around the world together, and I'm like your lovely assistant. And I would do all the difficult stunts, obviously, but you would help me, and I could be the star of the show, and you could drive me around wherever I need to go on horseback. It would be so much fun.
It sounds wonderful, but first we must save these people.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know, but think about it. I mean, it would be so much fun. You're no fun at all, Simon. When you kidnapped me away from Fairyland, she says, I expected you some better treatment than this. Don't you have any responsibility for me? You cast the spell and it pulls me away from Fairyland. I'm a princess. I lived a life of royalty back there. And
this
now
isn't anything we can hear, is it?
No.
Okay.
And now?
Thankfully.
And now? Look at you. Now you're not even letting me have any fun.
But look at all the wonderful things you get to see while traveling with me.
Oh, yeah, it's so much fun. There's a bunch of goblins. Oh, here's a storm that's coming. Oh, yeah, I'm about to get wet from head to toe again. You know what? I have a nickname for you now. You're the fun sucker. Because you suck the fun out of everything. My fun sucker, Simon. Simon Galavar, the fun sucker of Oerth. Anyway, so you guys begin on your way. Simon, you get another solid 15 minutes of haranguing like this.
I just, like in real life, I just listen and take it.
Woo! Bonus XP for Simon. Okay, so your group continues on your way. I need you to. Fortunately, it's being telepathic conversation, Glade. Huntress, I need you to roll me a 20, please.
19.
The way that you're going is traveled from time to time. As a ranger, you can tell it's being traveled from time to time by carts, horse-drawn carts. It looks like there hasn't been one in several days, but it looks like traffic comes in both directions. Certainly, it's not a road, but that's probably the whole point of it, you think? Mm-hmm. Besides that, you don't really see any other footprints. It seems like these carts maybe have some guards that walk alongside of them, but that's about it.
Okay.
In any case, your trip over to the area you need to be at is a relatively short one. The One-Eyed Crow knows the way fairly well, and soon enough, your whole group is probably a good quarter-mile away from this place in a kind of a gully. What you end up seeing, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put her on our Twitch screen right now. What you see is a large stockade. All right. What you're looking at right now is a drawbridge for the stockade, all right? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blow her up just a little bit from what you can see because night has fallen. We're kind of at the northeast of it. And everything that you see over there is rubble, all right? You're seeing all the rubble around it. Your light is illuminating a moat that's around it. The moat is full of dirty water. There's scum that floats on top of it. The whole of the stockade is probably about maybe 500 feet long, you're figuring. The drawbridge that crosses the moat, as you can see over there, the moat is about 20 foot across. And it extends another 20 foot onto the land. The drawbridge is rickety and dilapidated. There are cart marks that go up and down its length. So it's clear to you that they've used it. It gets quite a bit of use. I'm going to move your fog of war, the illumination, your light sources, right over to here. Just so you know, everything that you can see on the screen is what you can visibly see, all right, because of the lighting, or the lack thereof. So, there's a courtyard beyond the drawbridge that you can see, but that's about it. The stockade rises tall. Looks like it used to have several towers there. They've all collapsed at different points in time. You can see that the wooden parts of it are burned to rubble. There are just it's blackened. The pieces of the old palisade fence have collapsed in on themselves. If you were able to cross the moat, it is clear to you that you could walk over this debris. Some of it. In places, but in others that you can't. I need Glade at this point, since you're the caller of the party. What is the party going to do?
Couple questions first.
Of course.
How long would it take to do a perimeter sweep of the whole thing to find out if there are any other areas where we could go across to look for foot traffic? Anything else? Because this is obviously the main entrance, right. But I was thinking that we would be looking for guard patrol, like entrances and exits.
What you see is the following. Huntress, roll me a 20, please. As you guys are thinking,
13.
Okay. Huntress, you see foot traffic in the courtyard, on the bridge, some around the area that I've got illuminated on the screen. It's relatively recent. It's really not that long ago, which tells you right away that there are probably guard patrols that happen. So Glade's idea is not necessarily a bad one. What it would take you, Glade, to do a full one, being quiet and stealthy, it would take you about 15 15 to 20 minutes, you figure.
Oh, that's definitely worth it. What do you think? What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd also like to look for animal tracks or monster tracks or creature tracks too, to see if we can get a lay of the land as far as what inhabits this upper area.
Okay.
And I'll lean close to his ear and, tell him what I see, and then volunteer to do the sweep, since I'm fairly stealthy.
Okay. Glade, are you going to allow her to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Is there anyone that's going to be accompanying the Huntress on this mission?
I would offer to go, but I'll get lost, so no.
Yeah.
Should I go so that we can do the buddy system?
Simon, if you want, I can fly over her head invisibly and just kind of keep an eye on her.
That would be much appreciated, Princess.
Although I'm going to be over 100 feet away at a few times. Is that all right with you?
So that's fine.
Okay, Huntress. In that case, would you like to go counterclockwise or clockwise around this place?
I'm going to move counterclockwise.
Okay. So
I'm going to pull my hood up so I'm shadowed.
Okay.
And
so
then
you begin towards
also have my bow drawn in case anything comes up and tries to surprise me.
Okay. You have your bow drawn and you're trying to be stealthy. Please roll me 2 20s. The rest of you are going to hide in the gully until the time comes?
Yeah, is the crow with us?
Yeah, the one-eyed crow is in there with you, and he's just kind of hunkered down in there, watching her getting ready to leave.
I have a 12 and a 7.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to do make an action based on that?
I'm just going to skirt around the moat and try to stay behind bushes or whatever kind of cover there is.
Anyone else got anything they want to do? All right.
I was thinking about going the opposite direction and just sort of like looking for things that might light up my infravision and go real slow and take it real carefully and just meet her, but just take a little bit of a look on my own.
Glade, I need you to roll me a 20-sider, please.
10.
Okay. We'll start with the Huntress. The Huntress, you're going around this, and I am on the map. I'm showing you what you're seeing as you go around. You see plenty of rubble. You see some spaces through the rubble in which where buildings are visible. Like, for example, what's on the screen right now. Through there, you see all sorts of like debris that's inside of what used to be a room that's been collapsed. Looking at it real closely, around here you see what looks like there's wolves around here. Looks like there's some kind of at least some kind of canine. Roll me another 20. What'd you get?
17. Sorry,
Okay.
I was muted.
Oh, that's okay. You got the 20. You're looking at it, and it seems to you, looking at it, that not only are there wolf tracks here, but there's something bigger. It's like a wolf, but it's got to be a warg, you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be. So you keep looking around. Either that, or it's a weird-looking bear. And you can
it's right up near this tower that I can see the shadows of?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's outside of the moat. It's
okay.
The tracks are. It looks like they do a kind of a perimeter sweep themselves from time to time, whatever is in here. Meanwhile, back there going with Glade. Glade, as you are over here at the top of the map, you begin to circle the opposite direction. And what you see as you go around is yet more rubble. Again, in your mind, looking at it, you could probably, there was a way for you to cross the moat. As you can see, when you get to the part of the map that is highlighted right now, you can see a little bit of a shore, okay, between the moat and the actual wall that's existent. If you could get there, onto that bit of shore, and my cursor is there right now as we speak, you could actually probably climb over some of the debris and get in there if you wanted to, but there's no real true entrance so far.
Okay, yeah, but that'd be perfect because it means it's not well traveled. So, what's the thickness of the moat in that area?
How, you mean depth or width?
No,
Thickness.
the width.
It's 20 feet wide. Simon, in your mind, in your thoughts, you can hear Princess Calliope think to you, I think we're about on the edge of our connection, but flying up a little bit, it looks like parts of this place had a roof on it, and it looks like they've collapsed. I can't see too much inside of there. Okay, continue on with Glade going south.
So 20 feet isn't too bad, right? But we haven't tested the depth yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But the water is really black. It looks like there's debris that floats in it all over the place. It's really hard to say what is...
I'm going to spoil the surface.
What might be in there. What's that?
I'm going to take about a rock about half the size of my fist, and I'm just going to kind of bank it off of the shore and then let it bounce into the moat and see what happens.
Roll me a 20.
I'll try and take cover while I do it and kind of keep low just in case.
Okay.
12.
Doing that, it splashes into the water. It sinks. What becomes apparent when you do that is the scum that is over top of the moat is so thick that it actually forms like a carpet.
That's what I thought.
Obscuring what's on top of, what's beneath it completely.
Okay.
However, nothing happens specifically.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't start to bubble and pop, or it doesn't do anything crazy like that.
Does it sit on top of it, or
no,
does it
it does
break
not.
the
It goes
surface?
right to the bottom.
Okay, so it's not like an algae cover.
No.
Okay.
Meanwhile, for you, Huntress, you continue around, and as you walk around, yes, you see that there's definitely foot traffic all the way around, heavy. Make me one more 20, please.
That 20.
It feels sort of like, oh, that's okay, Anne. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate it. It feels to you like they're consistent with what you've seen from hobgoblins, this foot traffic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it looks like they're accompanying the wolves from time to time. You go all the way around the sides, and fortunately you guys have the same range infravision. Right at the back of it, you're able to meet Glade, and you see her. The two of you see each other from some distance, and manage to creep together and rejoin at the back of it. There looks like there's no other entrance per se into it. However, there are places where there's a bit of an artificial shoreline that you could kind of crawl across the debris.
Okay. I'm going to lean down and actually squat down next to her and explain what I've seen, and enforce the item that there are hobgoblins and possibly wargs and wolves in the area, and they make regular patrols, from what I can tell.
I'll nod at her, and then I'm going to take another small stone and demonstrate the surface of the moat for her.
Huntress, you see what it does too. Yeah, it acts the exact same way as his previous test. Maskra, you and Simon are back at the front. Meanwhile, with the one-eyed crow, and the one-eyed crow looks over at the two of you, and he just kind of is eyeing you up a little bit for a moment, and then finally says, "That voice that talks to you sometimes. You talk to ghosts, huh?" He looks at you, Simon.
I don't talk to ghosts.
Oh no? Then what is it? The wind?
My familiar.
What's that?
My companion.
Oh. Yeah, I had a cousin that had a invisible friend when they were little, and but they stopped believing in them when they were 2 years old. I guess yours stayed around, huh? He kind of smiles, his toothy grin. You can tell he's trying to be friendly, but has absolutely no social skills whatsoever.
That's okay. I go with it.
And also, he's not very well educated. So meanwhile, Glade and Huntress, you're at the back. Will you end up going to the front again to rejoin the rest of the group?
Yeah, I'll point for her to follow me the way I went, so that as we're going around, I can point out the area that I thought would make a good crossing point.
Okay. Which is one of the places is right here where I am highlight on the map right now.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, so.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm just
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the places that you thought might be a good crossing point if you wanted to go across the roof part of it, the collapsed roof. Meanwhile, you are able to still see the footprints from the different creatures that are out here. Still wolves, wargs, every once in a while you'll see like a little slither track from a snake. It seems to you like there might be snakes inside of the that live inside of the moat. But that's about it.
What kind of snakes? Like, since I'm a druid.
Well, once she tells you to look at once she points out the tracks, it's easy for you to tell. They look like normal sized snakes. They don't look like they're giant snakes or anything. But are
they like cottonmouths though?
Yeah, they look like they might be poisonous.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
So your group ends up heading around, and as you come up to the front of the rest of the stockade, I'm going to put you guys back where you were previously.
Can I ask real quick what the scum is made of?
Yeah, sure. It's just it looks like it's just kind of a mix of loose vegetation, ash. Looks like some things have managed to gain growth inside of there.
Okay, so it's basically like made from the destruction of the
pretty much
of the town itself.
It also looks like it might have been empty at one point in time, and it might have been created by the in the act of trying to put out the fire.
Okay.
By the occupants. So you get to the front. As you start to get to the front again, Simon, you're able to hear Calliope's voice in your head again. Hey, we're coming back, she mentions. The one-eyed crow masquerade tells you, hey, I see them over there. And soon enough, they come into view. Glade, how will you approach the situation? How will the party approach the situation now?
Okay, so everybody's back together?
Yep, you've reconnoitered at the front.
For the sake of brevity, I'll just sort of communicate, what we saw, the creatures, the layout of the moat, and like what it is. The fact that I didn't really find anything from testing it a couple of times, and then a couple of the possible entry points. Right. And then I'll just say, I think we should go over on... Is north?
North
like
is
up?
North.
Okay, cool. Magnetic north or true north?
No, north is north. North is north.
All right. So over on like the east side then. So
she Calliope says to Simon out loud this time. She says, "Hey, when I was flying over Huntress's head, in the middle of the place there seems to be like a courtyard, and I think there's a fountain there. It's not spitting water, but it's like a watering hole, and I saw some stuff moving around by it."
How close is that to where Glade is proposing we cross?
Probably if we walk straight to it, I'd say 100 feet or so, maybe.
All right.
A little, it's hard to tell.
Would you mind checking the building directly across where our party leader suggests we cross the moat?
Yeah, no problem.
See if there's anything in there?
No problem.
If she could see and make sure that there's cover.
I'll be right back. Yeah, she goes and she flies over. You guys are waiting for a good 15 minutes. Finally,
we could probably head around that way, right?
You feel your thoughts are filled with hers again, Simon, and she thinks over to you. I don't know about going over that way. She says the wall's kind of thick and the debris is thick, but I'm more worried looking at it. She says, I think there's places here. Obviously, I'm no common thief, but if I were, I might say that there are places in here that I suspect they may have rigged to fall away. I think that it might be a trap. But there's nothing in there. I mean, it seems pretty calm. If you want to walk in there, we can.
She's saying this out loud so we can
Yeah,
hear?
she says that out loud to your bunch.
I am going to consult Jormy with an augury spell.
Okay.
That's a good idea, Steve.
Mascara, you go ahead and you drop to your knee, and you're doing the augury spell.
Mm-hmm.
You guys all hear her whispering, and when she whispers, it's almost like you can see the heat rolling out of her mouth, like a hot heat off of a desert highway. It's like you can tell that she's speaking to something beyond the pale. What are you going to ask with your augury spell, Steve?
I can only ask, for the rest of the group, I can only ask yes or no. One yes or no question. I believe, although I'm 6th level.
It's one per level, I think.
It is one per level.
One per level. I'm going to first ask Jormy, Mistress of Heat, the raging volcano, I beseech you, is the best way and the safest way for this group to achieve our goal to cross this bridge and sneak towards the center of this ruined complex.
Maskra, as you are asked that question, everyone around you, you're ready for this, but not everyone else around you is. You look at Maskra, and when Maskra, her eyes just kind of go dead black like obsidian, she opens her mouth and lava starts to trickle out of the corners of her mouth and spill down her chin. When she speaks with a voice of fire. And you hear her say, yes. In this voice that kind of this shuddering like the volcano, restless volcano, just kind of ushers forth from her mouth. Starting to drip from her chin onto the ground, and as it does, it's burning into the ground this holy symbol of Jormy, the volcano holy symbol. Go ahead, Steve. What's your next question?
That was so descriptive, I lost my train of thought.
I love spells. What can I say?
Yeah. That's awesome. I saw the whole thing in my mind's eye. I'm going to ask Jormy, are those whom we have heard of, the leaders, Icar, Blackthorn, are they present in this place?
Again, that shuddery voice. Yes. Simon? She's kind of scary. You hear her whisper in your ear.
Present company excluded.
Yeah.
Most women are.
Glade, Myrmidon is hiding inside of your shirt now. Try to be as far away from this as possible.
Maskar will wear that with a badge of honor.
Number three.
Number three. Are these structures in fact trapped?
Yes.
Okay, I've got three more.
Mm-hmm. All of you can see Maskar's body is actually trembling slightly from being possessed by being a conduit for the goddess's will right now, starting to shake a little bit, almost like she was in an earthquake. Go ahead, continue.
Are the waters of this moat poisonous or caustic in any way?
No.
Okay.
One more.
Have our enemies created any undead guardians or defenders of this complex?
Yes.
And Maskra laughs.
As she laughs, her eyes open, and inside of them, you just see this roiling fire. Inside of them, there's nothing but the blood of the earth, molten and fiery in it. And then all of a sudden, the whole thing just kind of leaves her back to normal, just almost like throws itself out of her violently.
And she collapses a little bit, then picks herself back
The
up.
holy symbol, the lava on the ground, it all disappears.
Mm-hmm. Was she conscious of the answers, or does she have to get the answers from the party?
You're conscious of the answers.
Okay.
So, you guys now have some answers. What will you do? Glade, you're a call for the party.
What was the name of Simon's Calliope?
Princess Calliope.
Oh,
you have to call her by her title, Princess Calliope.
Oh, I was. I am very respectful.
Oh,
I'm a very respectful guy. Girl.
Uh-huh.
Princess Calliope.
Someone
Can you
has
point?
manners. She looks over at Simon.
Can you point out to us where there would be a safe place to cross that is not trapped?
Well, like I said, I don't really have that skill, but right over here, she points over, and I'm going to hang my cursor over the area, okay, on the screen. She says, right over here, and I'm going to blow it up a little bit so you can see it a little better. Right over in this area, if you were to cross there, it looks pretty stable. You'd have to kind of climb over the wall a little bit, but by avoiding the rubble, you'd be inside of the place. It looks safe to me there, and the palisade fence that's stuck in there seems to be pretty solid.
Good place to anchor a grappling hook.
Didn't Jeremy tell us the safest way was just to cross the bridge?
Oh,
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she would not deceive me. I am her servant.
However, keep this in mind. Questions with answers that are like that are kind of a little bit nebulous. Mm-hmm. It does not mean that it is safe to cross there. It means it is the safest place to cross there.
Correct.
It is very specific. The answers to the questions are very specific. So anyway, your group is there. You're at the edge of the moat. You're looking in. You're looking at there. The rubble is everywhere around you.
Let us anchor a rope here as a means of secondary escape then, and then we shall go across the bridge.
She looks over at Simon. You want me to fly up there with the end of a rope and tie it on?
Yes, please. Make it a good knot. Some of these people are bigger than us.
She looks over at you, Glade, and she says, "You know, when I change shape, Simon teaches me how to tie all kinds of knots." Kind of winks at you. It flies up with the end of it and ties it up at the top of the... she heard giggle away as she ties it out in the top of that.
That wasn't in the background.
the one-eyed crow looks at you and goes, "It's good that you teach her things."
Mm-hmm. Now do you understand his friend?
Oh, yeah, much better now. I didn't know. He could have just said it was invisible. I know what invisible means.
Blade looks at Simon and just smiles and shakes her head.
She lands back. She says, Are you done taking advantage of a kidnapped princess now?"
Blade, through magic, all things are possible.
Yeah, even kidnapping a princess away from fairyland. She nods.
Where's the black leather corset?
Oh, I've got all kinds of clothes. That's one thing he does for me, at least, is he buys me clothes.
Let's go over to the drawbridge, I guess. That's where we're going, right?
You're almost big enough to fit in my house, in fact. I'll have to show it to you sometime. She goes, "Oh, you guys go back."
Was she talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, I smile and give her my big pearly white smile and say, "I would be honored, princess. Though I don't think I'll like the shackles."
I don't want to know what goes on in my bag of holding. That's where she lives.
Well, that's what you call
the bag
it.
Of holding stays in the bag of holding.
Yeah, she's got a house that she's built in the bag of holding.
Masquerade and the Huntress do not have a bag of holding.
No, you do not have a bag of holding. Thank goodness for that. Okay,
I just look at this whole conversation and just kind of close my eyes and shake my head a little bit.
Right. So your group goes ahead and Your group goes ahead and you get to the drawbridge and you look across it. There's holes all over it, and it looks pretty rotten in places, but it looks like you could walk across it. You think to yourself right away, if carts manage to make it over here, it's got to be able to be walked across.
I'll pull out a couple of my little insect treats.
Okay.
For a myrmidon.
Myrmidon sticks its head right out of your hood right away.
Mm-hmm. And I will flick a few onto the drawbridge and then say, find the safest way across, my friend.
Jumps off your shoulder, starts eating a couple of these dried mealworms and things like that. A couple beetles.
No, not the mealworms. I saved those for me.
Oh, okay, never mind. Then the beetles.
Yep.
It starts to walk across the drawbridge. It kind of winds its way around the holes. It stops at one spot and kind of cuts over and walks around. It leads you in a path right across onto the stone. It turns around and looks back at you. And then it goes over to the rubble and starts digging in there and starting to eat something out of there.
I'll look around at everyone and then I'll trace the exact same path across.
Okay. Glade?
And I'll stay real low. Not quite crawling, but like real low.
Okay, Glade, you go ahead and you do that. And as you walk in, you have absolutely no problem crossing the drawbridge. You find yourself on the other side, unmolested.
I'll find myself a rock to hide behind and wait.
Okay, you're able to do that. So, is everyone else going to follow her?
Yes.
At this point in time, Glade, since you're the caller of the party, could you please tell me what your without any external influence, what the marching order of the party is going to be?
What do you mean without external influence?
What that means is if you guys get into, like, I don't know, into a corridor where it's too tight, or if it's really wide or something like that, I'll probably ask you to revise.
Oh, like without any kind of external pressing in on...
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I'm like, without Google? I don't know what you mean.
No. Well, yeah, that too, but...
So, me first. Huntress, what do you think? You next, and then Simon, and then Maskara? And then we have... Should we have One-Eyed Crow towards the front or in the back? He's our tank, right? So he's towards the front.
He looks at you, he says...
Tank should be in the front.
Doesn't matter to me.
We can go too wide after you.
Okay.
He nods. Got one of his tusks kind of kicked up over his lip. I'll go first then. He goes over across traces the way the pangolin went and makes it no problem. The rest of you do the same, and you find yourself in an area inside of where the palisade fence once was. Looks like it used to be a courtyard area, okay? It goes, extends to the left and to the right. The areas to the left and the right where you do not see the main bright light. A lot of grass has grown up on the ground over in those areas. It's kind of high grass, as a matter of fact.
Do I see any sort of tracks or trampling of the grass?
Yeah, actually, Huntress, there is a lot of trampling, especially on the right side of it, the east side of it. You're looking at it, you're like, there's a lot of, it looks like, make me a 20-sider.
14.
It looks to you like somebody, or maybe a lot of somebody's, were looking for something over there.
I'll blot to the rest of the party and look at Glade for the direction. Should we look into this a little more, or should we just keep moving?
What was it? Sorry, I was coughing.
There's the grass over on the right-hand side is trampled quite a bit. And she says,
let's check it out.
She looked to herself like it was, she thought to herself it looked like somebody was looking for something in that area. Okay, Glade, you, One-Eyed
I'll make
Crow,
sure to look for traps, though.
One-Eyed Crow is leading again?
I'll get ahead first and look for traps.
Okay, Glade, roll me a percentage die, please.
Uh, 34.
Okay. You're looking for traps, kind of digging around over on the side. As you and the rest of the party begin to wade your way in there, Glade, it occurs to you that this area is inhabited by more snakes. They've actually come to dwell in here a little bit. There's quite a few tracks for it over there. I need you, everyone in this area right now that is in that area, please roll me a 20.
17.
Okay.
16. I have an
16.
8.
Magnus?
16.
Greg?
4.
Okay. You're all looking around in there, and Simon, over by the north side of it all, and I'm going to hover my cursor where it is, right over in here. You see a brown leather bag. It's tucked over underneath, kind of almost all the way underneath a rock. It looks relatively new, maybe a little bit weather beaten. Above you, it's beginning to rain now. The storm is here.
Oh, lovely.
It's kind of a cold rain. It's probably going to get heavy soon.
Does the rain hiss when it touches Mascro?
No, not yet. Simon,
Just wait for the snakes.
What are you going to do, Glade? I'm sorry?
I just said just wait for the snakes hissing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Simon, are you going to reach out and try and grab it?
Oh, no. There's other people for that. I'm going to point it out to Glade.
Okay. Glade, you see it over there.
All right. I'll take my sling staff.
I don't know grab it. If this is trapped or not, so I'll leave that to more qualified individuals to check out.
Glade, you're going to kind of move it with your sling staff?
Yep.
Glade, you move it over, and you see underneath it, there is there are 2 snakes that are underneath it. They're curled up. They were kind of using it as cover. In fact, this is maybe how they got here. You're thinking to yourself. They look up at you and they hiss menacingly.
Okay. It doesn't seem like there's anything in the bag.
No, there's something in the bag. For sure. There's weight in the bag.
Okay. My sling staff is what, about 4 feet long?
About 4 feet long.
Okay, how big of snakes are they?
By the way, I just thought of something. This may be the only time in the history of D&D that there have been 2 players that had sling staffs in the same group. But please continue. Please continue. Glade, you go ahead and do what now?
How big are the snakes?
Snakes are probably about 3 to 4 feet long. One of them is a little longer than the other one.
Okay, so I'm probably a little bit out of striking distance, right?
Yeah, and the snakes don't seem like they're really interested in coming after you, per se. They seem like they're just...
No, they're cornered.
Yeah.
Okay, I will very slowly move the bag away from them and back up a little bit at the same time, staying low, and then just kind of drop the bag behind me.
Okay. Make me a percentage die.
84.
All of you guys are aware of the fact that halflings have a good reputation for stealth. As Glade does this, you're impressed by how deft, how sure-handed she is. She's able just to hook the thing up a little bit in the sling staff, pull it over, very one smooth motion, real quiet, real slow, and you get it away from where the snakes are. The snakes kind of back down a little bit. They kind of try to find another place, it looks like, underneath the rocks.
Yeah, there's plenty of rubble.
Yeah. So they go away. There is something inside this. You have the leather pouch.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll just take my sling staff and push it over towards the rest of the group.
Okay. I'm
a druid. I really don't care about worldly goods. It looks like maybe a gold pouch or something, so... Whatever.
The one-eyed crow looks down at it and says, "You smell that?" Points over at the bag. You smell that?
Do I?
No, you're not. Not scent isn't as sharp as
Gotcha.
his and the huntress's, but the huntress does smell it.
Mm-hmm.
Huntress, it smells like something sharp, like lemons, to you.
Like lemons.
Like lemons, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look at Glade and just go, anything you know of smell like lemons?
Both of you make a 20-sider for me. Actually, Simon, you too.
19.
What do you get, Simon? Oh, I'm sorry, Glade, what did you
16.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. 18. 18.
Glade?
14?
Okay. All three of you are aware that there's a flower that blooms in this particular area along the southern Sioux forest reaches. It's called a bluebell. Let's try that again. A blueberry bell. And what it is people like to crush them up. Halflings love them in pies. It's kind of got a real tart lemon scent to it when they're crushed. This bag, for some reason, has been just steeped in the juice of this particular bloom.
Why would that be? Would I have like some sort of herbalism or animal knowledge that would tell me?
Well, no, other than it's got a really distinctive smell. It's really sharp, and you can tell usually creatures like orcs, creatures like I don't know, some animals, they'll be able to tell it from a mile away.
Does my plant lore tell me anything more about that?
Make me a 20, please.
19.
Yeah, your plant lore tells you that these guys, like I said, it's very common for people to put it in pies and things like that. Some people make it into a drink like lemonade. It doesn't really have any kind of medicinal properties to it, but a lot of people use it just because it's pleasantly fragrant to get rid of bad smells and things like that.
I was going to say, is there anything that would be a strong scent that somebody would be trying to cover up?
Are
that
you
would
going
be
to
obvious around here?
Not obvious around here, but if you pick it up, you might be able to smell and get it close to your nose. You might be able to smell.
Yeah. Why not? I'll check it out.
Okay. You go ahead and you pick up the bag, and yeah, absolutely. There's kind of an acidy, acrid smell that somebody was trying to get rid of that's in here. Whatever is actually in the bag, it's not big. It's a single piece of something.
All right,
it feels like a coin. And I'm going to read you guys a very quick description of what you're looking at here. This is the bluebell berry, as I mentioned. It's native to the Pomage and the southern reaches of the Sioux forest and the wild coast. It may refer to either a type of a bush or the tiny flowers or fruit that grows on it. The bluebell berry is a type of perennial flowering plant. It varies in size from about 4 inches to 13 feet in height. Its two most notable characteristics are the small blue berries and the similarly sized and colored flowers that grow from its branches. Quite hardy, the bluebell berry is easy to grow, thriving in most kinds of soil, although good sunlight and at least moderate access to moisture are ideal conditions for the plant. Consequently, it can also be found growing wild along the banks of rivers and streams cutting the countryside. It's prized for its berries and flowers, while the latter, which are akin to wild violets, though paler in hue, are primarily used as aesthetic decorations. The fruit of the plant is quite nutritious and composes an important part of the diet of many animals, such as birds and deer. The berries are quite bitter, somewhat like a lemon in flavor, and have somewhat of an acquired taste, though both the gnomish and halfling folk in the region enjoy them, especially when baked into pastries and pies. The juice is rendered by crushing the berries, is quite pleasantly fragrant, and candles infused with bluebell berry juice are common where the plant grows. I told you these are half adventures, half source books, Steve. I told you that this morning.
Okay.
Anyway, so there you go. That's your bluebell berry for you. That's everything you know about it. And all three of you know everything that I just mentioned because of your roles. Simon because of his education, Huntress because you're plant lore, and being a ranger, and Glade because you're a druid. Mascara, this is just a really pretty flower as far as, it's a very strong scent as far as you're concerned.
Well, I mostly smell like ashes and sulfur, so I don't smell outside of my aura very much.
No, that's probably true too. Glade, what are you guys going to do? You going to investigate what's inside of the pouch or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pour it out.
Okay, you pour it out on the ground. What falls out of the pouch is a single coin. It glimmers in the light moonlight. It's like a silvery color when it hits the ground. On one side of it, it looks like it's like one half of it is silver and the other half of it's gold. One side of it's silver and it's married right down the middle. When it hits the ground, you look. The face that is up is the gold face, and it is the face of kind of an ugly human. And it's like him in profile. It is not a mint of any kind that is local to here that you're aware
Is it a god or a goddess that
No,
I'm
it doesn't
aware
look like it. No, it's not. It's no kind of mint that you're familiar with either. It looks like.
How about me being well traveled?
No, you being well traveled. You've never even seen a coin that's made like this. Really, that's kind of like half and half like this. I mean, Electrum is made as an admixture. The two things. It's homogenous, though. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really different.
I take the edge of a dagger and flip it into the air and see what happens when it lands.
You flip it in the air, and it happens to land on its silver side. And the silver side is another stamped into the silver face of it is the letter X. It's in beautiful calligraphy.
Pick it up.
Okay, you pick it up.
You're
going to carry it, Glade?
Does anybody want it?
I shake my head.
One-Eyed Crow shakes his head.
I'll put it in a pouch for now.
Yeah, pretty much everything, Steve. So, okay, you put it into your pouch. All right, so you're standing in the middle of this area. The snakes have gone and they've recoiled back into their lairs, and you are free to do as you wish. What will you do now? The One-Eyed Crow, who is kind of at the front of the group, looks over at you, Glade, and says, "You want me to keep going forward?"
Yes.
Nice.
As we're going south, how big is it? And can I keep an eye out for where we planted the rope and the grappling hook?
Yes. What you're seeing right over here is every square is 10 feet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've just zoomed in the screen. That, for example, the space between the rubble and the door and the wall area of this part of the stockade that is not collapsed is about 10 feet wide.
Cool. Okay. I just have a feeling that we'll want to make sure we have an escape route.
Right. So you continue on forward.
I ask the crow to hold for a moment.
He stops.
As we move forward, I'm going to draw my bow.
Okay.
And have an arrow ready, just for covering our backside.
You got it. He looks over at you. Yeah, what do you want?
Crow, I would like to cast an aura of protection upon you. Because you're large and you're leading the way, you are likely to be attacked first. So I cast a protection from evil.
Do you think your goddess will accept me?
Oh, yes. Because of your burn. Because of your burn. She loves you.
That's unusual. I'm ready.
Okay. So protection of evil will last for 30 rounds on the One-Eyed Crow.
Put your hand on his chest, and you see it. The heat from, like I said, off the road spread across his body, and you can see every crevice it touches in his body that's been burned kind of is tinged slightly with fire for a moment. So he almost looks like his whole body's a piece of lava for a moment, and then just fades away the aura. Okay. So you're going to continue on then?
Yeah.
Okay. You continue on forward through this space in the walls. The crow stops you right about where the light is. Glade, I'm going to move the map over a little bit so you can see. That is where your grappling hook is.
Great,
right over where my cursor is. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You can see it over in that area. There's a bit of lichen, a little bit of moss that grows on a lot of the stones in here. The chariot or the wheels on the cart stop right in this 4 square area where my cursor is hanging around as we speak. Okay? They stop right over there, and he stops you right behind the rubble that's there and nods in the direction of the open area ahead of you, which I'm going to light so you can see it. What you see beyond there is in the middle of this open area. It looks like it used to be a garden at some point in time, all right? It is, there's a big stone circular fountain in the middle of it in which no water seems to be rushing upwards, but it looks like it's filled with water. Around it, you can see all that stone that's collapsed. It looks like at one point in time that might have been there might have been terraces there in which flowers and plants were, but they're long since gone. If that's the case, probably things collapsed onto them, crushing them underneath. Simon, Princess Calliope whispers in your ear, "This is the area I saw from up top."
How many creatures did you see around the water?
There were 4 there. 2 of them looked like dogs, and I couldn't make out what the other 2 looked like.
Are they still there?
She looks forward. I can't see them, no. She looks over at you and says, "If you want me to, I can fly back in there."
Yes, but be careful.
Okay. She turns invisible. Goes past your ear. You see her, you don't see anything for a moment. Time goes on. She comes back in about maybe 3 rounds. Comes back and alights on your shoulder again, Simon, and whispers, "I don't see anything in there. There's well, no, I take that back. There's a couple things. There's a few rats in there. But I did notice something weird. You know how the moat is covered all in scum and stuff? The water's fresh in there. There's nothing on top of it."
Right, that way the wolves or whatever you saw can drink from it.
Yeah, but wouldn't it grow something eventually, like the sides of the inside?
Not if it's constantly being refreshed, which means
an illusion.
You have an underground water source or an illusion, but I doubt that's the case.
She thinks about it. She's like, "Well, that makes sense." I do want to get out of this rain sometime soon, though. Rain's coming down pretty good now.
Can Maskra see this fountain from where she is?
Yeah, you guys can see Maskra. You can see the outline of it, like the silhouette of it. The rest of everybody can see it pretty clearly.
Okay. She's going to concentrate and try to disbelieve what she's seeing.
Okay.
She thinks it might be an entrance.
You see, you disbelieve it. You're kind of trying to just clear your mind and see things as they are, and know the fountain seems to be still there. Glade, what will the party do at this point? The crow kind of looks at you and says, "You want me to go and scout in?"
Yes, let's take a look.
He nods. Looks over back at you. He says, "Huntress, I'm going to stay to the right side of the door. So if you start shooting, shoot on the left side."
I just give him a little grin.
He nods. He says, he looks over at you. He says, I don't know how you are about orcs. He says, but I'd rather not be full of arrows at the end of this." So he goes in. He ends up walking forward. And in this area, what you see...
I'll flank him and stay maybe about 10 feet behind him, just kind of stealthily creeping along to give him back up if he needs it.
Okay.
So everybody's gone except for me and Volcano Woman here.
Yeah, I'll walk on up to the entranceway about 10 feet behind Glade.
Okay. And you're staying in the back, Simon?
I believe that, yeah, everybody's lost but me, so I'll be sitting back in the back.
Okay. What you do is everyone begins to walk into the area. The water that is in there is reflecting one of the moons that's in the sky. It's barely wavering. It's only because the rain that's coming down there, it's striking on its surface. At the back of the room, you'll notice a blank area on the wall. That's where a pair of doors are. There's a double door there. They look like they have been repaired. They look relatively new. As you walk around in there, nothing seems to happen.
I'll head back and grab the rest of the group.
Okay.
Make our way forward.
Crow comes back with you to the rest of you. He says, looks back. "What do you think?"
Have we found where we need to go?
I think it seems clear for now, and that they're coming and going from these doors. They're definitely repaired. This is where they go.
As you guys are speaking, the doors open up.
Yes.
Walking through the door, you see a pair of wolves walk through, and not at the end of leads or of any kind. There's 2 figures that walk in. Both of them are about maybe 6.5 feet tall to 7 foot tall. They've got kind of ruddy skin, They're wearing leather armor that looks kind of in poor repair. They have short bows. They both have a sword. Bunch of black arrows with long fletchings on them. Kind of mumble back and forth to one another. They start going over to the water. The bunch of them.
I'll stop everyone and stay back.
Okay. You stop everybody, and let me see a couple things here. Blade, no. Simon, no. And
I don't speak their language.
that's what I'm about ready to find out. That's what I'm doing right now. And no. Okay, you do not. Actually, though, the Huntress does. Huntress, as you're watching them, you hear the conversation is in Hobgoblin.
I speak Goblin.
Hobgoblin.
Oh, that's
Goblin.
different
Yeah,
dialect?
It's different. Yeah.
Like Mandarin?
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of.
Like Mandarin and Cantonese.
Right.
So they're speaking to one another, and the conversation it goes something like this. Says something like, "Kotoma, curse this rain." I know, he says that. At least you have a part of the roof over your head. So he kind of chuckles a little bit to the other one. He says, "Yeah," he says, "I don't envy the ones that are getting ready to go on patrol, though." Nods. Who did he send out on patrol this time? The other one. Vagror sent, I think he sent Dufan and Garnak. He nods. It's good. Garnak's a gold chewer. Says he needs to get to work. They kind of laugh back and forth to each other. One of the wolves is looking out through that open area in the middle of the area, kind of scanning his head. You could tell he kind of is sensing something.
How far away are they, Carlos?
They're about 1, 2, 3, 4. They're about 70 foot away.
I cast sleep.
Okay.
My range is 80 feet.
Okay. Everyone sees Simon pull out a small satchel in his hand. Put some dust. Pour some multicolored dust in his hand. Blows it in the area. You just see it kind of waft and disappear into the area. And the wolves and the hobgoblins are talking to each other. And they're like, "Hey, your wolf's acting weird." He goes, "Yeah, but he smells." They both of them collapse. One of the wolves falls over. The other wolf falls over. One of the hobgoblins actually falls into the water halfway through. He doesn't look like he'll drown. He's just floating. He's just hanging in there by his arm.
How long does that last?
That'll last for about 25 rounds. So about almost a half hour, maybe 25 minutes.
Then let's make haste.
Calliope looks at you, just grins from ear to ear, and she goes, "I love it when you do that, like a proper fae."
That's what I aspire to be, right?
We have somebody that we just had a Zoom problem. That was Steve.
We lost Steve.
That's okay. We will take a moment's break here until Steve comes back.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I need a refill.
Okay, we're going to take a moment's break until Steve comes back. In the meantime, I'm going to leave the screen up, and we can kind of just converse until Steven returns.
I'll be right back.
So far, you guys have managed to infiltrate the stockade. You guys have found a little bit. You found what you believe to be an entrance into it, and you've gotten all the information you need for the actual meat and potatoes of the adventure. So far, what are you guys thinking about the atmosphere, about the way that everything has been set up and done as play testers? What's your first blush reactions, guys?
So far, I really like it.
Okay.
It's very well put together.
Okay. What do you think, Greg? You digging what you're seeing here? Is there an issue that you've seen right away?
I like the use of the stockade.
Okay.
Bringing people back to the original slave lord.
I do too.
Series. I like that idea. Oh, I'm sorry. My Siri's talking to me. I don't know why.
That's okay. I don't mind.
No, it's good. I think we're being our overly cautious selves, which is fine.
That's exactly what player characters do best. Hey, Steve's back.
Hey,
Steven, what's happening, buddy?
my network went down, so I'm piggybacking on my neighbors.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Does your neighbor know?
Yes, he's my business partner.
I'm just teasing you. I don't know.
I
It's just some free Wi-Fi because your house is next door to somebody else's.
don't know if you guys have ever heard.
That's how I get to the office network.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a band called They Might Be Giants before.
Oh yeah.
But They Might Be Giants has this. Used to have something called the They Might Be Giants song hotline, and you would get a free They Might Be Giants song just by calling this number back in the day. And I remember that the advertisement used to say, They Might Be Giants free song hotline, free when you call from work. Instead of saying that it was free for a call, it was free from when you call from work. I used to think that was hilarious. Okay, so Magnus, as soon as he's back from break, we'll go ahead and we'll resume. Steven, all I did when you left is I went ahead and I put everybody on break for the time being. And I said that I asked everybody what their thoughts were about the ambiance of the adventure so far. You guys have gotten all the information you need. You think you found the way actually into the place. What are your first blush reactions as a playtester?
Yeah, it's good. I felt a little at the mercy of our captain, and so far at the mercy of our guide, the Crow. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm kind of along for the ride.
Okay.
But that's okay. Now we're getting into the juicy stuff. Good.
Okay, that's good to know. Because then I can kind of maneuver around a little bit to give you a little bit more player agency going forward in the module. Because I think I would not like to take that away from players tuning in.
Especially from Highport to this location. It's one thing to be on a boat where the captain calls the shots, but we're in an unusual case in that the Crow is an NPC, so it's a little different than normal.
There was an Easter egg in that part of it too that was meant specifically for Magnus. In the first modules, in the Marquesa modules, the person that took everybody from place to place was Captain de Tarndress. Mm-hmm. And I've used her as a recurring NPC in my Patreon game, of which Magnus is a part of. So she's an Easter egg more or less for people that have done different castle entertainment things. She's one of those pieces that kind of tie things together a bit.
Yep. Then who is Charissa?
That is her. That is Charissa de Tarndress. Mm-hmm. She is the pirate captain. She does all kinds of crazy stuff. She's kind of a living legend in the area. She's my pirate captain. That's my corsair. She's kind of. It depends on who you talk to, who trusts her and who doesn't. But generally speaking, she's got a pretty good heart. I was just telling them, Magnus, that Captain de Tarndress was an Easter egg for people in my Patreon game and for people that played in the.
She's a good one. I love her.
I love Captain de Tarndress too. She's actually kind of one of the now and again love interests of one of the players in my game with the Patreon thing. But anyway, we'll continue on where we left off. All right, everyone. So you're out in front of these double doors that are on my map right now. Actually, not on my map right now. On my map right now. You have these unconscious hobgoblins and wolves in the area with you by the fountain. Would you like to do anything with them? The one-eyed crow is looking at him like
they're not going to be asleep for too long.
He's looking at you guys like he's in favor of drowning them.
Do we want to kill one, interview the other, and then kill that one?
Okay.
Kill the wolves, for sure.
He looks over at you, Glade. He says, he goes over, and as soon as you say okay, he plunges his spear through the back of one of their necks, out through the front. You see his eyes widen open, just gore falls right through his throat onto the ground. He looks down at him, just kind of nods.
I was going to suggest tying him up, but okay.
He looks over at you. He goes, I can tie him up now.
Well, there's one more we can
He stops. He
interview.
says, "I'm really sorry." He goes, "I didn't mean to. If you wanted me to not kill him, I wouldn't have."
Massacre will drag the body away from this courtyard and off to the side.
Right.
The wolves are going to be the bigger problem.
I'm kind of conflicted about the wolves.
He puts up the one-eyed crow, grabs one, puts him up over his shoulders, and stands up. Kind of takes him. He's following Massacre wherever she's going with the other one.
All right.
Blade, where are you going to have everybody bring these creatures for an interrogation moment?
Where did we see any like partially collapsed little houses or anything?
No, but now that you are actually doing this, you are walking in this direction from the out into the courtyard. You are able to see at the edge of where my light is. My cursor is over by it right now. You see a door.
It seems like an obvious place to trap. I guess I'll check it out.
Okay, so you. In the meantime, I assume that everybody else in the party is dragging out bodies, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to be in this general area by the door. Is where everyone's going with them. It might make sense to do that based on the fact that right next to that is where your escape route is.
And away from the main route in case the patrol leaves or comes back.
Yep. Like tucked around the corner, yeah.
Okay, so you guys are kind of behind the rubble here, near where the rope is. I need you to roll me percentage dice, Magnus.
$49.
Okay. You go ahead and you look at the door. You're kind of playing at it with your thieves' tools. You figure out that the door is not only not trapped, it's not locked either. It's actually got it could be very easily opened. Hey, good to see you, Heath. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah, it looks like it could be opened up fairly easily. It doesn't look like it's been opened up recently, though.
I'll nudge it a little bit just to make sure it doesn't make like a ton of noise.
You nudge it. When it opens, there is a bit of a creaking, but not too crazy.
All right, if we can slip around the corner, I'll do that and check it out. Make sure it's safe.
You go ahead and you open it up. You open the door, stick your head in, and what you see is the door leads to a set of stairs. Okay? The set of stairs go up from where you see them, and they turn right abruptly, but when they turn right, there is all kinds of rubble atop. It looks like it would have led to the tower going upwards that was here, but it's all collapsed now. And you can see the bleached bones of a human body clad in chainmail and bearing a broadsword among the stones at the turn. It looks like that either they were ascending or descending when the tower collapsed and were crushed to death under tons of rock.
Okay. Well, this is perfect. I'll peek my head out and gesture for everybody to quietly come inside.
Okay.
We drag the bodies with us.
Okay. Are you going to go onto the stairs, or are you going to be just in that 10-foot area outside of them?
Outside of it.
Okay.
The stairs look unsteady.
Okay.
Well, they're covered in rubble, right?
The one at the top is where it disappears and would turn right normally. That's where it's covered with rubble. Everything else is clear, but Massacre is not wrong. It looks like treading on them. Who even knows?
Yeah, okay. Because we just want this little alcove, right?
So you have the bodies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to wake up who?
Miss
I'll let
Druid,
Massacre do it.
do you have a problem with dispatching these wolves? Or is there another way to appease your goddess of at least preventing them from harming us?
They are no longer wild. They are tamed by these creatures. I will give a prayer to the goddess, and then you can dispatch them.
I forward the honor to the crow.
The crow goes ahead and he slaughters them both.
We'll make sure that this surviving hobgoblin is tied up well. Ankles, wrists behind their body. And I think, Simon, you can decide to allow them to wake up.
All you have to do is slap them. That'll wake them up.
Okay.
The crow looks down. Well, there's only one of them that's alive.
Yes.
So the crow looks at the other one. He goes, do you want me to slap him?
She'll do it.
Okay. Masker, are you doing the slapping or Glade is?
I'm going to. I want to interrogate this hobgoblin, but okay. I don't speak hobgoblin.
Okay. The one of you that does speak hobgoblin is the huntress.
So I will just look menacing and have my smoking staff nearby.
The orc looks...
and allow the huntress to...
and I'll stuff like a sock in his mouth.
The half-orc...
Make sure that he can't yell out when he wakes up.
Says, I'll wake him up. And he kind of pulls him up real close and then headbutts him right in the face. That's what he wakes up to. But no blood just starts weeping out of his nose. He's like, what? Looks around, struggling with the bonds. He sees you, Huntress, you, Maskra, the orc, Glade, and Simon there, and he just doesn't say anything, just stops.
Sorry about that. I'm going to kneel on his chest with one knee and get his attention.
He looks at you.
And then I'm going to look to Glade for instruction, what she would like to know. Or anyone, what you would like to know. And I will relay the orders.
Can I just point out one thing?
Mm-hmm.
While you are all having fun dispatching creatures and interrogating, it's only a matter of time before they notice their patrol is missing. Let's just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Please proceed.
Huntress, look, you're still laying on his chest. He looks up at you. When you say something over to Glade, he looks over at Glade.
Let's make this quick. What do we need to know?
Find out how many of them there are.
I speak in Hobgoblin to the guard.
Uh-huh. And he just looks at you, kind of mumbles something around this sock.
Okay, I'm going to pull the sock out just enough that he can speak, but not yell. Just give him a little bit of movement in his jaw.
You do that, and he looks at you and says, our tribe is strong. Those you stand no chance. You'd be better off turning around right now.
He says they're really strong, and he's
and
going...
the crow takes the end of his spear and hits him in the side of the head with it, and says, answers. No opinions. Answers.
I'm using my ESP on this guy because it's...
He is scared as hell. As soon as you direct your ESP to him, he's like, his mind is a thunderstorm about how I'm going to get out of this alive.
Good.
But he's trying he's not showing it really that much.
Mm-hmm.
Huntress, next question.
When do the guards go through?
Well, when the next patrol do.
Correct, that's what I'm asking us. Mm-hmm.
He says, no more answers unless you tell me that I can go when you're done. And he looks around and he looks at Maskra and he says, I want her word on it.
I relay it to Maskra.
Holy woman.
Yes, but you have to leave, not go back inside.
I leave right away. Just run and keep running until I can't run anymore.
I'm relaying all this information back and forth.
He looks down over at Glade. He looks at you, Huntress, and he says, all right then, if that's going to be how it is. This counts in his mind a bit. 18 of us. If we have wolves, we have wargs.
I share a knowing glance with the crow.
Yeah. Because
that doesn't sound like a very strong tribe.
He just kind of, You hear him just say to himself.
Yeah.
He says to you also, when he looks at him laughing a little bit, he says, there are many more downstairs. We're the only ones that are allowed to be up here. You get it? He says,
Who else is downstairs, Huntress? Ask him that.
And I relay the message again.
The Warg Master, he says the commanders, he says the priestesses, the people that you're probably here to rescue. If I guess right.
How many, I'm going to say.
How many down there?
Yes.
Maybe 40.
Okay.
He looks back at you.
How many prisoners?
Maybe.
How many prisoners?
Maybe 12.
And he says 12
he
prisoners.
Laughs a little bit. He laughs a little because you count the little girl as one. He hits him again with a spear. No opinions. Answers.
Nikara,
Mm-hmm.
could you kindly ask our guest if there is a raven-haired woman prisoner below?
Looks at you. He goes.
I give him a little curious look, but then I just kind of shake it off and do the relay the message again.
He nods. He says, "Yeah, I remember someone with black hair down there, woman." Nods. I don't go down there much. He goes, and neither will you. He goes, you haven't figured it out yet. He laughs a little bit. He says, but to answer your other question, you short one. Because they come we're supposed to leave. He says, every time he says every time we get a bell from below. Because they come every so often. Usually in the middle of the night, morning, evening.
Okay, I'm going to continuously relay everything.
He
Anything
looks over
specific
at you.
else
He says,
you
I
wanna
would
know?
expect it to be another one in maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
How many methods to get downstairs? How many entrances?
Just one. He goes, the stairs. He goes, but you're never going to make it through there.
Why do you keep saying that?
Well, for 2 reasons. He goes, you don't smell right, first of all. He laughs. He goes, and number 2, he says, because of what guards the door. Bam! Again in the gut this time.
Nikara, why don't you ask him what guards the door?
Mm-hmm.
Terrible things, monsters. Faces like men. Great wings. Long tails. Spikes on tails.
Manticores.
Mm-hmm.
Because they fly through the hole in the roof there. When they go to hunt. He goes, but the other, because the female is I think she's pregnant. She stays at the nest all the time now. It makes him even more dangerous. He laughs.
Ask them how we turn our smell so that we can get through.
With the flowers.
He nods when you say that. He says, everything here. He goes, he looks at his pouch.
Flowers with the pouch.
He looks over his pouch. He says, you crush the bluebell berry over yourself. He goes, the dogs know then that you're not an enemy. Anything they smell that does not have bluebell berry on them, right away they begin to bark. When they bark, they ring the bells. Everyone knows you come.
Has he been telling the truth with my ESP?
Yes, absolutely the truth. And he looks over at you, Simon. He goes, you're pretty smart. He goes, maybe you would have had a chance. Not the rest of you, though.
Where is your stash of bluebell berries?
The witch doctor goes, Vergas holds it. Because he lives over in our, where we are allowed to lair. Because you go through those doors, goes you go to the right, goes all the rooms in that area are ours. Goes we're forbidden to go to the left in the main hallway and go forward. He goes, and that is where death awaits. Looks at the group of you.
How much are they paying you to do this?
He laughs a bit. Pay? Why would they pay us to do this? He goes, this is our home. He says, we are allowed to have shelter here in an area. Look around yourself. It's nothing but death. Here we can be strong and protected. It's a good place. I don't know where I'm going to go when you let me go, but I'll try to go probably to, I don't know, maybe to Highport. I don't know. Shakes his head. Hopefully I make it. Looks at you, Glade. Says, so, is there anything else you want to know? Looks over at Huntress. I have nothing else to tell you.
Why don't we ask Icar and Blackthorn are down there?
You say Icar and Blackthorn, he knows those words in common.
Mm-hmm.
He says, are you there for the command? Are you here for the commanders? You're not here to rescue people? Ha! You should have listened to me right away then. Turn around and go. Too strong. Too strong. He says, they're not alone. He says, Skullbuster down there. He thinks about it more. He goes, the priestess is down there. You don't. He says, I think even they have this thing down there in the training area they've locked in there, and it's gigantic. You don't want to do this. You should turn around and go home. Go to your families and be safe.
Can I sneak up behind him and slit his throat?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Glade, you go ahead and you right behind him. You slash his throat. His eyes get wide. Blood starts pouring down his chest. His eyes. He starts to say something and just bubbles around his neck. It's a gruesome 3 minutes of death.
I lean down and quietly whisper in his ear, I promised nothing.
Didn't we promise to let him go?
No, I did, but
Crow just kind of
I was planning to trigger Crow as he walked away, but that was even better.
He looks over at you, Glade, the one-eyed Crow. Doesn't even think twice about the thing at the bottom, at the hobgoblin. He looks at you and says, "What now?" Meanwhile, Simon, you're familiar.
I'm shaking my head.
Princess Calliope's covered her eyes. She's got her head buried over, like, underneath your ear. She goes, they're murderers, all of them.
I thought you liked whips and chains, honey.
What are we doing with these? Well, not like that. We have a safe word. You didn't even give him a safe word. By the way, it's pomegranate.
Oh, nice. There's an Easter egg, too. I appreciate it.
Should we go into this complex and head to the right and try to find this
Bluebell berry stash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You end up leaving that area.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure to put the door back.
What's the marching order one more time?
Me and Old Crow in the front, and then we're going to put Huntress in the middle, and then like Simon and Masker in the back.
By the way, you said that you said Old Crow. That's a drink, you know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, it's something I haven't eaten in a drunk in a long time. Maskra, I would like you and Simon both to roll me a 20-sider.
Couldn't we crush the flowers up before we go through the doors? To avoid the enraged female manticore.
Okay, 5. What'd you get, Greg?
Oh, I'm sorry. You need me to roll too?
Yeah, 20, please.
I roll a 14.
Okay. All right. So, Greg, you are you're saying this to the rest of them about the bluebell berry. What do you want to do, Glade?
Sorry. I spaced out for a second there.
It's okay, Glade. What do you want to do? How you want to handle the bluebell berry?
So we got the bluebell berries?
You just have a pouch of them with...
yeah.
Yeah, there's enough probably for maybe one person.
What about the goblins we just killed? Do they have pouches?
You can look at the other one. Yeah, the other one has enough that he could crush some too.
Okay, so we got the 2 pouches. And there's probably not enough left. There's not enough left in the one that we found with the snakes, right?
No.
Okay. So I'm thinking that Huntress and I are probably stealthy enough that we might be able to survive. So should we save like the bluebell berries for Maskra and Simon? Or could we just divide them up and do less on each of us? What do you guys think?
While you're thinking about this, Maskra slowly walks up to Simon. Right away, you can tell that she's got this weird look on her face. Simon, she leaps out and wraps her hands around your throat and begins to choke you. Huntress, what are you and Glade and the One-Eyed Crow going to do?
Sorry, I zoned out for a second. What was that again?
We got a lot of zoning out right now. You guys, Maskra reaches out and begins to choke Simon. Reaches out with her hand and starts to this horrid look on her face where it looks like her skin is starting to peel away from the flesh. She's grabbing Simon by the neck and starting to choke him out. What are you going to do?
I'm going to try and pull her hands away.
Okay, roll me a 20, please.
15.
Hey, Whaley Hobbit, good to see you. You grab Maskra's hands. The One-Eyed Crow runs around behind Maskra, grabs her around the body. While you're doing that, you're pulling the hands away, strong as an ox, but you finally get stronger than she should be. You break the hold on Simon's neck. Simon, you can breathe again. Princess Calliope flew up, and she's like hovering right in front of Maskra's face, and had this incantation getting ready she was going to cast. Glade, what are you going to do?
So I have detect magic, but would that tell me anything?
It would tell you, yes, you could tell something by the school of magic that it is.
She might be ensorcelled.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Otherwise, I stand by my prior statement about women being dangerous. Right? Did I say that respectfully, based on the circumstances?
Oh, hell, I have protection from fire. Maybe that would work on Maskra.
Okay, so what are you going to do?
Am I still raving?
Yeah, you're still writhing right over there, trying to shake out of the hands. Good to see you, Heath. Thanks for dropping in. Shaking, trying to escape the holds that everyone has on you. Glade, what are you going to do?
Do I have like a sap, or can I take my staff and just kind of whack it over her head to knock her out?
You can try. Make me a 20.
Okay. I don't really know what else to do besides that. 11.
Okay. That's a hit. Make me a 6-sider, please.
Just try to go for a temple shot to kind of pop her out. 6.
Okay. You see Maskra drop to the ground unconscious. Huntress, make me a 20, please. Glade, also make me a 20.
15.
Okay.
12.
Okay. Maskra drops to the ground. All of a sudden, she appears perfectly normal. The One-Eyed Crow looks for a second at all of you. He starts to snarl a bit, and then he just shakes his head a bit, and nothing happens. We need to get out of here, he says. He looks up at the body in the stairwell. He says,
"Oh."
He says, "This is
Possession.
bad."
I'll grab Maskra's legs and start trying to drag her out.
One-Eyed Crow grabs the top of the body and starts to carry it out. You guys get out of the room. closing the door, I assume?
Yep.
Okay, close the door. These two wolves are slain, and the body of the hobgoblins are both in the room where you left.
Yeah.
Close the door. You are outside of the room. Moskra, you're starting to come to again. You had this feeling for a moment that something had overcome you. Something had just... It was like being immersed in a well and held down for a moment, but now you're back.
So I was possessed.
Possessed.
I'm sorry about that.
One-Eyed Crow explains, Moskra. Yeah, you reached out, you tried to kill Simon, and you tried to strangle him. You're lucky you didn't get another moment on it. I was going to put one right between your eyes. The Princess Clype, he says.
Simon, are you hurt? Would you need any healing?
No danger. Just no damage.
I'm not injured. Just concerned.
Are we concerned that this malevolent force could possibly raise these two hobgoblins into wolves?
If we're worried about that, then we need to get moving.
Just lock the door and let's go.
Okay.
I would doubt it. Otherwise, I would have thought that it would have affected the other hobgoblins further away.
So you begin to head back to the main area where the fountain was.
Yep.
Who did you decide that you were going to crush bluebell berries on anyone?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, you go for it.
Oh, I was going to recommend that the frontline people, the ones that are scouting ahead.
So that would be the One-Eyed Crow and the Druid, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. They are going at you. Go ahead and you crush the bluebell berries on them. You smell that really sharp lemon smell all over your bodies. Now you know why they use it for this. That you can smell that a good distance away. It occurs to you that with these two, if the hobgoblins know that there are two people out at the water, they won't be at all put off by the fact that two people are walking back in.
Right.
So, will you open up those double doors at the back of the area?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Who's in the lead? Everybody in the lead that I expected before?
Yeah, the crow.
Okay. You guys go ahead and you open up the door.
You have me in the middle, right, Magnus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
When you open up the door, you see the following. Let me get my... there we go. There we go. I'm trying to remember where I put everything for a moment. You'll have to forgive me. I have so many things that are hidden underneath other layers here. That's got to be it. No? Oh, there it is. Duh. Okay. There it is. You open up the door. And this is what you see on the other side of the door.
Okay.
You open up the door.
They said that the right way was the Hobgoblin tribe.
Yep, that would be where my cursor is hanging right now, is where the Hobgoblin tribe was. Supposedly ahead of you was Death, and he said nothing about that door
right?
left.
No, what they say left was?
He didn't say anything about what was left.
He said they weren't allowed to go left. Mm-hmm.
They weren't allowed to go left. So, what will you do, Magnus? You and the crow are at the point of the group.
Do we want to explore left?
Up to you guys.
We're here to rescue these people, so we need to go that direction.
Yeah, I was thinking that to the right, where the Hobgoblin tribe is, that's not the way to go, right? Because that's not where they're being kept. They're being kept below.
Yep, that's what he said.
Yep. The only reason to go to the Hobgoblins would be to get cover for the rest of the party with the...
Bluebell berries, right.
Yes.
So will you head forward then?
Are we going forward, like south, or are we going to the left, guys?
Up to you.
We're going to have to deal with the mana core sooner or later, because if we're pulling people out of here, we're not going to have enough to disguise all of them.
Yeah, but we'll just basically be tenderized for when the rest of them show up, right?
Well, as long as you in the front are protected with odor, the rest of us have spells or ranged weapons, and we can stay back.
All right, let's check it out.
Okay. You and the one-eyed crow open the next door. What you see is ahead of you a door further ahead and a stairway that ushers upwards to your left. Make me a 20-sider, everybody in the group, and let me know if anybody rolls under a 10.
I did.
Okay. Right away, you're able to tell then, and I'm sure you would share this with the rest of the group. Mm-hmm. There was nothing when you looked up at when you were outside looking at this area, that stairway should go to nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whatever was up there was probably collapsed. Okay. Door ahead
Can
of
we
you.
hear anything from ahead south?
Yeah. If you put your ear to the door, make me a percentage die.
Okay. 38.
You listen to the door, and you hear this growling sound. Something breaking bones. Like it sounds like something big eating.
I'll pass that along.
The one-eyed crow just kind of looks around at all of you like, I don't know about this.
You sure you want to do this?
That's probably the Manticores.
Yeah.
He nods. He nods. The Princess Calliope looks at you. She goes, what do we do here?
All right.
Are we going in?
I can't see the entire... Is this the only way is to go through the Manticores, or is there ways?
I think that's what they were saying, right?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
I don't know if I... No.
Okay, who's opening the door?
Under duress, the Hobgoblin. There's got to be another way to get past the Manticores without going past them They would lose too many people.
I was reading his mind, and he told the truth.
Well, that's what they use the bluebells for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to ever have enough bluebell berries to get all of the prisoners out.
Right.
So use the bluebells on the people that can get close to the Manticores and sneak attack them while the rest of us attack from a distance. Maybe we can surprise them.
Let's take them out, sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you open the doors. Glade and the one-eyed crow are walking in, and everybody else is remaining outside. Do I get that right?
I am right behind Glade, so I can shoot over top of her head. But I am still outside the room at the moment.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
It's a small enough space that the manticores wouldn't be able to go into the hallway, right?
Right.
So I
when
mean,
you open the door,
right there
though,
in the door.
But when you open the door, this is what you see inside.
Okay.
You see a very large room. There are holes in the ceiling of this room, all right, where pieces of things have collapsed, rubble have collapsed, but it leaves a large area in the middle of the room. There's a big hole in it. Rain is coming inside of it. The floor is slick. It's covered in vegetation and debris and things like that. There's a door, as you can see in here, to the north. Beside that door, in the southwest corner of the room, there, underneath a bit of an overhang, there is a massive nest of stone, straw, bones, rotting body parts, and inside of it occupies about the 30 by 20 area in that corner. All right. Inside of there, you see two great tawny furred creatures, long leathery bat-like wings tucked in from close to their back, long tails from which menacing spikes issue forth all over the tail. They both turn to you with just this vicious look in their faces. One of them has this face of an ugly old man and the other one has a look of this horrid-looking crone of a woman. Both of them have this black, stringy hair. They look at you and just snarl evilly as they see the two of you. The one
So I take it these aren't normal creatures.
No, the one-eyed crow looks over at you, Glade, and just looks stunned at what he's seeing in front of him. He looks over at you and just kind of swallows once and starts to walk inside the room. They just kind of follow him with their eyes, staring.
I'm going to use his distraction to my advantage. Mm-hmm. I want to duck around the corner there and take a look at that north door.
Okay. Are you going to hide in shadows to do so?
No, I'm not worried about it, actually, because I got the juice on me.
Okay.
I'm just going to do it as fast as I can so that he doesn't end up being lunch meat.
You go over there into the corner, and you smell something horrid coming from that door. Something rotten, like old meat. You hear the buzzing of flies. From underneath the door, there's a little bit of a puddle of something that has escaped out. It's blood that has escaped out from underneath it. It looks disgusting.
The larders where they keep their food.
And the thing is just looking at you. The two manticores are just looking at the one-eyed crow. One of them, the male, gets out of the nest and starts to walk across the room towards him. You guys gonna do anything?
See, now
the one-eyed crow's looking at you, Glade, like, what? I didn't know I was signing up for this.
I'll gesture him to, step backwards.
He takes a step back. It almost could see his fear a little bit. And it comes even closer. It starts to sniff at the air around him. Starts to sniff, just looks down at him and growls, a little bit of drool hitting the ground in front of him. Blade, you have now examined enough of this room to know that the way that this room is designed, this floor, the water and everything, it's done purposely like this. They've allowed water to come in here because it's made the ground slick. It's going to slow you up. It's slippery. Running in here is going to be hard if you don't have paws. Big paws. This room is a death trap.
Is there anything else in here besides the larder, though? Is there a stairway that goes down?
Nothing that you see, but you haven't told me you've been looking for secret doors or anything like that, though, either.
Yeah. No, I haven't been looking for secret doors. I was looking for...
obvious ones.
Obvious doors, yeah, and stairwells and stuff.
Glade, look at the map carefully.
I can't see the map very well.
Okay.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, there we go. That's better. Thanks.
In fact, let me open her up.
Okay.
There you go. That's the best view of it.
So the nest is towards the south end, basically?
Yep, south, the corner right in front of where that door is, the obvious door. In fact, the obvious door, it looks like whatever was there before was buried by rubble, but because the nest abuts it, it's right next to it. There's no way you would be able to open up the nest and get in there, or open it up with the nest being in its way.
The one at the south end.
Yep, the southwest corner. Oh, in fact, you know what? You can't really see that very well, can you? I will move it up. There you go.
Is there one in the northwest corner, too?
Yep, there's one in the north... Or, no, there's a northeast corner. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, there is a northwest corner one. I take that back. But it's also likewise covered in debris.
Okay. I'll tug on the crow and pull him back, and we'll go back out the door.
It looks at him. It just kind of sniffs. It sniffs you. It sniffs the air that leads to the hallway and starts to snarl. And
we'll back away.
Close the door. You're all in the hallway. One-eyed crow gets back there and looks at you. I think that went well.
I think you just earned some experience points without having to slay anything.
I think that maybe you'll have to reapply the flowers, though. There's a different scent on you now.
I believe it. What should we do? He goes, it's clearly going to kill all the rest of them if we bring them in here. Huh? Or maybe if they come with us because we've got the scent, they think they're slaves. I don't know. What do we do?
I did not see anywhere that we could go.
It's got to be a secret door in there, right? He thinks.
I suppose.
I have a few.
Southwest corner. Right? Carlos, is a door in the southwest corner, but the nest is right in front of it?
Yeah, it's right abutts it. There'd be no way to open it up.
Oh, so you can't even open the door?
No, you can't even open it. It's just there. It's just located there. Now, he said, the princess says, listen, when I was over top of this place, there's a lot of building above this that's collapsed. I guess it would be kind of like towards the southeast corner of the room. If there was a secret door, I guess that's where it would probably be. Yeah?
Yes.
She thinks.
I think you're right.
She looks over at Simon. She says, the question is, how do we get in there without being Manicore launch?
I have a proposal.
Everybody looks at you.
Go fight him.
My my blessed staff from my goddess has the ability to conjure a wall of fire.
Now we're talking.
We could put up a barrier, and the thing is, I do not know if Manticore are afraid of fire, or they will just leap the flame without fear.
They fly.
Princess Calliope looks at you, Simon, and she goes, they're going to try and protect their babies. If it's pregnant, if we just wall off the female, wouldn't the male kind of go to defend her? At least maybe we can run across the room.
The only problem is that we're going to have to come back through here as well.
I can do another wall of fire.
Then let's try it.
He nods. The one-eyed girl looks at you, Masker, and says, I guess you're going in with us this time, then?
Yes, and very quickly after I enter the door, before they can smell the air, I conjure a wall of fire around the nest.
Okay.
I've got a spell I'm getting ready as well.
What are you preparing, Simon?
Lightning bolt.
Okay.
I wear my rubber boots.
You walk into the room.
I'll step in the water.
You walk into the room. Maskra, you follow the two in there. And as soon as it sees you, Maskra, both of them start to stand up. You guys watch Maskra pull up the staff. The staff head looks like it explodes up in a volcanic eruption with lava running down its side. Around the nest, there's massive sheets of roaring fire explode into being around it. The two Manicores roar out in surprise and terror. What are you guys going to do? Are you guys going to run, or are you guys going to...
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All of you run over to the south corner of the room.
Yep.
I need everybody to make me a 6-sider.
I thought we were going to fight these things.
I got a 1.
1.
I missed the memo.
Okay.
About fighting.
No, we're gonna save a wall of fire for the way out.
Okay. Here's what you do. You run towards the back corner. As soon as these things roar out in surprise and fear, you see the door that is in the north open up. Running outside of it is this pig-headed man. He's wearing a smock, and he's got a cleaver in his hands. His blood coming all over from his face. He runs out of there, sees the Manticore, sees you, and just starts to scream out in this shrill, horrible voice.
I'm going to take a shot and go straight for his throat.
Okay.
To try and silence him.
Zookeeper.
Huntress, turn around. Fire. Make me 2 20s. Simon, what'd you roll on your 6?
I rolled a 5.
Okay, Glade, what'd you roll on your 6?
5.
What'd you roll on your 6, Maskra?
2.
Okay. Go ahead, Huntress.
Quick logistical question.
Yeah.
Do I have to concentrate on the wall of fire?
No, you do not.
Okay, then I go into spell motions.
Okay, Huntress, what are you going to... You fired 2 shots. What'd you roll?
I have a 7 and an 8.
Okay, 7 and an 8. You hit once on the body and another time over in the side of the head. It's got arrows sticking out of it. It does not even look slightly bothered by it. It is charging across the room at you. What you do see in the corner of the room, as you guys were looking for secret doors and all this thing started to happen, right away, that appears to you. You see a door at the back of the room. What are you going to do? By the way, and as a matter of fact, not only that, but you also see this. There, okay.
I dare to ask, are we slipping and sliding?
Yeah, you're slipping and sliding as you are running across the place, but since you're going in a straight line, I haven't really made that bother you too much.
Okay.
This pig-headed man, as he's coming out of here, the huntress shoots him twice with the arrows. Neither of them seems to bother him, but he is slowed down. He's being affected by this floor just like everyone else. The manticores are roaring out. You hear noises that are starting to come from the door leading to this area. You think that you may have just roused the hobgoblins. They may know something's up. So, this is what we've got. Everybody's around in the southeast corner of the room. The manticores are in the southwest corner of the room, surrounded by a wall of fire. The pig-headed man is running towards you from the north. From the absolute north, you hear noises coming through the door. Everybody, all four of you, roll me initiative. 6-sider, please.
Thought that was the 5 I rolled.
No, it was not. That was for secret doors.
Oh.
Did I get to cast a spell last round?
No, you will be able to cast a spell this round, though.
I was going to cast a spell at the same time as he was. I had prepared.
Oh. Well, then time out for a second. If you want to let that spell go right away, I thought when you said that your expectations were defined of what you were going to do, I thought that meant that you wanted to reserve your spell. You still want to fire it?
I was going to fork the lightning bolt and hit both manticores while he threw up his wall of fire. That was my original
Okay, then never mind. You guys see Simon reach out. He pulls out a small bit of looks like a bit of lodestone and and some other kind of a silver rod or a copper rod. You see him make these gestures in the air. Around him, you start to taste a metallic taste in the air. All your hair stands on end. Simon, roll me your damage. For you, that would be a 5d6.
5d6. 17.
Okay. You see Simon reach his hand up in the air. He extends his other hand out, and through the hole in the roof, lightning strikes through from the storm, hits his hand, runs through his body, and fires out his other hand. The water in between him and the manticores explodes up in this mist of ionized air that's just... It seems like it's consumed utterly by this forking, twisting blast of pure brilliance. It's over in a second, but it seems like it lasts like 10 minutes. You see it launch and blast straight into the two manticores. One of them seems like it just roars out pain. The other one, just the female screams out shrilly in pain. You see Thor catching on fire through it. The water all around part of their nest catches on fire. Part of the water, it just explodes up into this rainfall inside the room. The room has become a tempest, a miniature tempest inside of it. Like I said, it's over in a blinding instant. But for that one moment, it was like the storm was reborn inside of the room. Simon, the first of the manticores looks injured to you. The second one looks very injured to you. As soon as you do that, the man that was running from the top takes cover behind those... I almost pointed at my screen. Takes cover from behind where my pointer is right now on the map, behind this debris, and out of the main reach of the Huntress's arrows. So, you have no angle to shoot at. The other manticore, the male one, is run flying out of his nest towards you. Now I need to know what those initiative rolls were.
1.
I hit a 1.
Okay, what do you got, Simon?
6.
6. And the one-eyed crow gets a 3. Okay, Simon, you go first, buddy. What do you got?
Oh,
Hold on, just one second. Does my
Yeah, you have an arrow knock. If you want to fire again, you can.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that every round or is it just one?
It
round?
is every round when they're in point blank range, and you are considered to be in point blank range right now.
Okay, I'm going to shoot at the most wounded manticore.
Okay, make me a 20.
15.
Okay, fire out with your bow. You hit it in the side of the face. Make me a 6-sider.
4.
You hit it in the side of the face with your arrow. Are you using a magic or a normal arrow?
I'll use the magical.
Okay, it hits it. You see the thing as it roars out. You can see the arrowhead lodge right through its cheek. It's piercing through the side of its face into its mouth. Simon, what are you going to do?
Just a quick question first. Wouldn't they take damage from the wall of fire if he's facing the flames towards them?
The one that jumped through it absolutely took damage from the wall.
Okay. The one that jumped through it, I'm going to pull out my wand of magic missiles, and if I read the description correctly, I can fire 2 magic missiles.
That is correct.
2 charges. So I'm going to fire 2 magic missiles at it.
2d4, please. Simon, as it's running towards you, you see its mane is just it's like a mane of fire right now. One of its wings is on fire, and part of its fur is on fire. You see it blacken from your lightning bolt. There's a arrow through its cheek, and yet it's not slowing down. You pull out your wand. What'd you get for the 2d4?
It's 2d4. It's +1 for each missile.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 10.
Ooh. Glade, you're standing there in front of semi in front of Simon. When Simon reaches out his wand, you see these 2 balls of light. They come flying straight at you, and then they break off. One of them circles around your head. The other one kind of curls around underneath the Huntress's arm, between her bowstring and the frame of her bow. Anything it can do just to seek out its target and curl around you. One of them hits the thing in the face, explodes. You hear part of a bone break. The eye is ruined where he hit it. The other one hits it square in the nose, roars out in pain, kind of staggers it a bit. It stiffens up a little bit. Moskra, your turn.
Moskra uses her staff and uses the burning hands function of the staff at the same manticore who leaped through the flames.
Okay. Moskra kind of steps out in front, levels her staff at it, and that volcano top of it seems to erupt forth in this sheet of fire at the manticore. The manticore is smoking and smoldering and drops down to one paw, one leg. It looks at you with this look of sheer hatred in its face. The other manticore takes flight and begins to leave out through the roof. This manticore made its morale check. Okay, so it is going to attack. And it will attack one of the 4 of you, and one of the 5 of you, I should say. It chooses the one-eyed crow. It leaps out, grabs him in its teeth. And you see him grab an arm and fling him against the wall. You hear this sickening cracking noise of bone against the wall. Blood just pouring forth from his face. It's impossible to tell if he's alive or dead. Kind of whips its tail around and fires this rain of spikes towards you.
That's not good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Not good.
1, 2, 3, 4. Simon.
Yes. AC is 3.
Take 4. Yeah, I'm looking at your ACs on my screen right now. Thank you.
Okay.
The next one is Maskra. Take 4. Huntress. Take 4. Man, this 4-sider is lethal. Simon. Take 1. Glade. One hits you directly in the chest, and you think it's going to penetrate right through your body, and you hear this plink noise, and you realize, you look down, Myrmidon is curled up into a little ball on your chest, and it hit his scales and has done nothing.
Wow.
It just looks up at you like terrified, like shuddering inside of your outfit. Okay.
It's a good.
Huntress, your turn.
One spike or one spike?
Yeah, it's your turn. You have 2 shots this round.
No,
Okay.
Sorry.
I was waiting for Gregory. He was trying to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg. What do you got?
How many spikes hit me?
2. 1 for 1 point of damage and 1 for 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed a 1 for 1.
Oh, that's okay. No big deal.
Okay.
Okay, and I give you 2 d20s, right?
That's correct.
Okay. 7 and a 5.
Okay. Linda, you go ahead. Huntress comes up with her bow, firing almost as quickly as the eye can see. Magic arrows or non-magic arrows?
Let's go magic.
Okay, magic arrows. One of them, as its tail was whipping through the air, it seems like it hits part of the tail where the iron spike was and just deflects off of it. The other one barely manages to hit through the part of the union of its wing and its body. Make me a 6-sider.
3.
Blade, what are you going to do?
How close are we to those 2 doors?
You're right there. You could open them if you wanted to.
Do they look the same?
Yeah, they look almost identical.
All right, I'm going to do the one on the right. I'm going to see if I can open it.
Okay. Open the door. Beyond the door, you see the next door that is right behind it, that you can see right there on the screen.
Okay.
The manticore looks like it's about ready. It's on its last legs. It doesn't look like it has too much left. Are you actually going to enter, Glade?
Nope. I'm going to... how hard would it be for me to whip a sling stone at it?
Not too hard at all. Gonna roll.
Okay. I'll do a non-magic one. I'll just see if I can
roll me a
finish
20,
it.
please.
11.
Okay. You throw your sling at it. The bullet comes hurtling through the air, misses clear over its head. Simon, your turn.
All right, I'm going to fire 2 more magic missiles at the
Okay.
manticore. That is
as soon as it sees you leveling your wand again, there's fear in its eyes. Go ahead.
good. Got good reason, right?
Yep. 2d4.
7 points.
Okay. Again, you guys see the brilliant balls of this colorless light reflecting off the water in the ground, hurtling through the air. One of them smashes up against the thing's face. Another one hits its belly. The one that hits its belly, you see penetrate through the skin and erupts inside of it. The whole manticore just drops to the ground, dead. All you can hear inside of there is the rain through the ceiling, hitting the walls. You hear the one-eyed crow barely breathing up against the wall. Silence besides that.
Isn't there another manticore, or what happened to the female?
She flew out through the roof.
And what happened to the guy
pig-headed guy.
in the rubble? Pig-faced guy.
You're not really sure where he is.
Oh, crap.
Just that silence in the room. What will you do?
I'll
Glade?
I'll say come on, let's go. And duck into the tunnel there.
Okay. You guys duck into the tunnel. As you run into the tunnel, you're in front of the other door. You close the other door behind you.
Yep.
The door that's there,
Nest.
the door that's there that you see in front of you.
Can I check for secret doors?
Sure, make me a 6-sider. You're inside of this area, and you see a hallway.
5.
Short bit of hallway with stairs going down into darkness.
Okay.
5, you see nothing as far as secret doors go. The hallway leads into darkness. And for right now, this is a good place to stop you, because you have just found your way to the underground portion of the stockade.
Did we want to check the nest of the Manicore before we go downstairs?
Well, with hobgoblins on their way here?
It sounds like they were moving outside. You're thinking to yourself what probably happened is they probably has chosen not to go in there, mostly because they heard the lightning bolt. They heard all that commotion. They're probably waiting to see what happens.
Well, there's Pig Dude as well.
Yeah,
That's
Pig Dude
definitely...
is waiting back there, thinking to himself, you know what? I think I just saw a lot of hell getting unleashed. Let's see how this plays out before I go running in and do it.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about looting.
Well, yeah, he got shot in the face by 2 arrows. They were both magical, and Simon threw out all that lightning right there. That was a lot of shock and awe for a moment.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like, you know what, maybe not.
Can the crow walk?
The crow, if you look at his body very quickly, no, he cannot walk. As a matter of fact, it looks like both of his legs and one of his arms are broken. He's bleeding super bad from his neck and his arm.
Yep. I'll give him a cure light wounds.
Okay.
That's all I've got. I've got 2 of them.
I can help with that too.
Roll me an 8, please.
5.
Glader, you also going to do that?
Can I wait to see how well he does from that?
Maskra, you go ahead and you touch him, and you see the blood that's coming from his neck start to sizzle and pop like it's burning, like it's molten. And as it rolls down his neck, what's left behind it is this obsidian, volcanic glass. And you know how the spell works. You just tap it with your finger, and when you break it, flesh is underneath it.
Nice.
Cool.
Wow.
Okay. So
he
sits there, he's breathing, looking up at you.
Yeah.
He goes, if I live, I glorify your goddess to the end of my days.
She has chosen you, my son.
One would say he's been kissed by fire, right?
Yeah,
Are you
going to also use a spell?
Does he still have any like broken limbs and stuff?
Yeah, he's screwed up bad.
Yeah. I'll in fact I've got healing too. I'll set his limbs, right, and ask him to bite down, and I'll set his limbs, and then at the same time as I do that,
screaming into the rag, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I'll just take my hand and I'll like take some salve and some mud and just kind of take nature's magic and smear it across.
He's biting out of this rag, and you're doing all this from Simon's shoulder. You hear something invisible say, "Bet you wish you had a safe word."
Nice. I got a 7.
Okay, you see the arm just slowly slither back into place. The leg kind of corrects itself. He's still hurt, but he can walk and move and fight now.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yep,
at this point, like I said, I think this is a good place for us to stop the session for the evening. You guys have found a way to go downstairs into the second portion of the stockade. Everybody who's been watching us tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Guys, what were your initial thoughts? I'm just going to go around the horn real quick. Linda, what'd you think?
I loved it. The description and everything was just amazing.
Okay, what'd you think, Steve?
Yeah, I loved how much jeopardy we were in that last fight. I mean, the fact that Crow, our muscle, went down, we were in a weak spot.
I rolled that 20 on him, and he was in bad shape. I rolled a 20, and I rolled 2 6s for the damage. Yeah, he was in bad shape. That would have killed almost any of the rest of you. Magnus, what do you think?
It was a lot of fun, as always. I like your descriptions, and I like the setting. It has a lot of verisimilitude. Like everything, I think one of your best features when you design these things is how everything makes sense with the way everything works together. So it's not just like an interesting fight. At the same time, it makes sense why each of these things is in the place it is.
I believe
I
very
really
much
like that.
in dungeon ecology.
Yeah, I like that a
design.
lot.
So yeah, thank you very much. That's something I do work at.
And the pigman surprised me. I thought it was just like, a larder of meat put away too.
There's no one to say that it isn't.
Right.
He did come out with a cleaver.
Yeah,
Right.
he's the chef.
Right.
Simon, Greg, what'd you think?
I think it's a very challenging module, and I do like the way the flowers kind of tied in with the method to try to get.
That's cool too.
Yeah, well, thank you.
That
Once bitten apple, thank you so much. I
Something
appreciate it.
useful.
Oh yeah, you know what, Simon? The thing I did about that is I like when I design something like this. I always design it like, how would I defend it if I were like the hobgoblins or Icar or Blackthorn? And I do a lot of stuff like with magical alarms and things like that. And I've done that a lot lately. And I was like, you know what? Let's do something a little bit more organic. Let's see what would be a cool way to do this if it was a low-tech way to figure it out. And I realized I populated all the top level with stuff that had good sensory abilities. So let's do something with the bluebell berry. And,
I want a pie though.
That was good.
who's to say that there's not going to be one downstairs?
I know, but I
Blake?
must be like part halfling because now I want a bluebell pie.
I'd want a blueberry pie too. That sounds really good, guys. I'm so glad that you guys were able to play, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. Once bitten apple, thank you so much for. Thank you. I put a lot into the descriptions. I want it to be really cinematic. I want my magic users to feel and my clerics to feel like they truly do wield the power of the gods and of the invisible art when they cast spells. I want them to be these things that shock people. For example, imagine this. You hit somebody with a longsword and you do D10 damage, okay? Well, imagine then what 5d6 damage must look like, okay? I want you to, when you see somebody conjure a lightning bolt, if anyone's ever seen those videos online of a lightning strike, those things are terrifying. And I want everybody to realize what it would look like about 5.5 feet from you when it hit you. That's why.
Out of the sun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're seeing the water ionize and explode outward. The reason why the water was raining out was air pressure displacement. It was coming as a lightning bolt was stroking through, and it was arcing over all the individual drops and everything like that. Oh, yeah. And and I did not anticipate the possibility of a lightning bolt in that room. So for playtesting, that revealed something really cool to me about how that will work out in future games. So
I appreciate your descriptions of electricity.
Yes.
Oh,
in particular.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, electricity. Well, remember, I'm an engineer. That's what I do.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So, guys, thank you so much for for playing. Stick around for one last second before we tune off, and so I can say my goodbyes in particular. But for my players tonight, Linda Booth, the Huntress, Steve, Maskra, Magnus, Glade, and Greg, Simon. I'm Carlos, your DM. Thanks for tuning in from Dark Roses, Black Thorns Grow. We'll be back on Monday for the summation, the conclusion of the module, and hopefully our guys get a chance to live long enough to play test it. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good evening.